everybody. Welcome back to another BareRose Saturday. Saturday Pickup Live. Oh, what are we going to talk about today? Well, you see the topic in there. We're going to talk about rat rods a little bit if y'all want to. Hey, we got Turbo Tom in the house. What's going on, Turbo Tom? Good to see you. 53 days smoke-free. Hang in there, man. Those first days are the hardest ones. Of course, after you get past what they say after the first 3 weeks, it gets a little easier. Eric, what's going on up there in Norway, my friend? That's good to see you, man. Excuse me. And again, Tom, all the best to you. That's a hard habit to kick. I haven't done it yet. But since I'm in the house, and I've been stuck in the house now, I've changed over to these for when I'm in the house. I know, electronic stuff, but yeah, keeps the house from smelling up. But anyway, how's everybody been? Again, super great to see y'all. I know I've been very sporadic here lately. All I've been able to do with my projects is just gathering parts and getting stuff ready. But today it got to almost 50 degrees, so winter is on the way out. And well, unlike last week, we had a few things go on at work, so I wasn't able to come on last week. So this week I actually got some time. But anyway, enough of all of that. Generally speaking, I should have Thursdays or Fridays and Saturdays off. Should have. Knock on wood. Anyway, as you can see in my opening there, thumbnail, whatever, that's Sir Rats a lot. I like that video there, that picture right there, because you can really see the kind of chassis that we build. It's called a skidder frame instead of a Z frame, the standard Z frames of all the other rat rods. The difference is we don't have anything hanging below the frame. So even if I come over a speed bump, nothing gets hurt. And in fact, it actually goes over the speed bumps, no problem whatsoever, because of the way we got the front end set out in front. The front tires hit it and it goes over the speed bump. And by that time, speed bumps are back far enough that even though it's only 4.5 inches from the frame to the ground, because of the motion of the tires, it goes over most everything there. And by the time it gets back to the cab, it's a good, about 6 inches off the ground. Anyway, that's a good picture of the kind of chassis I'm going to be building for the next project. As I alluded to in my last live, the project I got coming up is, let's see if I can mess this up. All right, one of these days I'll get it organized. It's in here. I had it loaded here for y'all. And then I lost it. Ah, it's here, it's here, it's here. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, that'll be dadgum. I had it loaded up here and now it's gone. It went to somewhere. Oy, 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 oy. Let's see now. Share screen. There we go. That's going to be the next project. But all I'm going to use off of it is just the cab here. Right here. The nose, the fenders, everything, the hood, I'm going to use that on another project. But I'll be setting that cab down on a Z-frame. I've got the grill, 1930 Ford. Yeah, 1930 Ford grill that I'm going to be putting up front up here. Doing another one very similar to the one you seen there in my thumbnail. But that's the beginning of it. That's my 1950 F4 Ford. It's one I've had for quite a while. I actually bought this truck when I bought my backhoe. He threw this in too to kind of sweeten the deal. Hey, John, great to see you. I caught a little bit of your live last night. I was busy and hopping, but great to see you, my friend. Let's see. There's some more views of it. Oh, and that's my horse. But anyway, that's the project. I decided to go this route for two reasons. Number one, I have to build an automatic so the wife can drive it. I don't have time to teach her how to speed shift and power shift and how to really drive a manual transmission. So in order for her to have a lot of fun with it, I got to build an automatic. So I figured, what the heck, we'll just jump on over and start another one. The name of this one is going to be The Milkman's Son. Uh, it's a Ugly Kid Joe song. I don't know if you've heard it, but yeah, that's the theme of this one. Cat's Cradle, that's the 58 300 that's still in the shop. That one is still in the process being built, but it's going to be a manual 4-speed with that top loader Ford in it. And like I said, I don't have time to teach her or enough spare parts to teach somebody how to really drive a manual transmission. So I figured the easiest way was take that engine out of that 70 Lincoln and just slap it on in there and build up a frame. And it gives me the chance to show you guys how we build our chassis and why we use those instead of the stock ones. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoy. I should be able to get into some shop time in 2 weeks on that. My steel has all come in, and I've pretty much rounded up all the parts for it. Well, all the parts that I could think of. There's always some little bits and pieces everywhere. But anyway, that's the projects that are coming. Mama M, what's going on, Colleen? Great to see you. I try my dangest, even if I can't pop in for all of it, I can pop in, give you a like, and watch about 2 or 3 minutes of it while I'm running. True in that, John. True in that. And like any of my other lives, you know, it's an open one. Yeah, I got the link posted up there. Just click the little link button and join on in. We'll talk about anything and anything. If you have any questions about rat rods, hop on in. I'll do everything I can to answer them for you. And if you haven't caught it yet, John has got the No Name Nationals running again. We're going to do it another year in the same place, Sykeston, Missouri. The name of the track changed a little bit, but it's still the same old track and a great time. I hope everybody out there can come. This year, I'm probably going to be taking Sir Rat. Sir Rat's a lot now because we stuck a ton of ram on it. Well, all we got to do, well, the reason I'm going to take that one is because it's already done. It's an easy one. Well, some little button up things we got to do. I still got to change the rear end out of it. Well, not changing the rear end, but we're going to drop the gear ratio down in it. I got all the pieces to do it with. I just haven't had time to do it. We're going to drop it down to 456s. We got another 87 Ford 1 ton. Well, I'm just going to pull the axles, drop the rear end out, the gears out, swap them from truck to truck, and I'm going to put the tall gears that are in Sir Rat's a lot into the flatbed trash hauling truck that we got. They've got identical rear ends. In fact, they were the same years. The donor truck for Sir Rat was it was a 87 Ford dually, utility dually at that. Hey, Mr. Lars, great to see you, my friend. Difference in a utility dually 1 ton and a regular dually 1 ton is their utility axles are shorter. They're a whole lot narrower. Well, it's the width of the outside dual. On a utility truck, your outside dual is the same as your front tire in width. So everything is pretty much like a pickup. It's just got dual wheels on the back. A dually has got the 2 outside tires that stick out in the way, and that's when you get the fender flares on the pickup box. Utility trucks, they call them utility trucks because that's how you order them. Generally, if you order them like straight from Ford or Chevy, whoever, they come without a bed. No bed whatsoever on a utility truck. It's just a cab and a bare frame in the back. Then you take them to, well, here locally, we got a place called Riverside Boot and Tackle. I love living in the country. And they specialize in utility beds, either a flat bed or those box beds that you see the work trucks with all the toolboxes and tool bins and stuff on them. Those are put on a utility truck. That's why they call them a utility truck, because they're very utilitarian. Around here, you see lots and lots of them because the farmers and ranchers around here, they order them that way because they're a little cheaper, and they put flatbeds on them anyway to haul hay bales and everything else around with. Yeah, good old Riverside Boot and Tackle out in Riverside, Idaho. Yeah, it's just right on the other side of the little town of Blackfoot. They sell about anything in there. And lawnmowers. They were the Dixon dealer. Now they're a Husqvarna dealer for all your zero turn needs. And it's a Western store. the saddle shop. Oh Lord, you name it, you can buy it in there. Mater's Workshop, how the heck are you, man? I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you, man. How is it down there in the big old state of Texas? And like I said, I got my link posted up there. If anybody wants to pop on in, pop on in. Otherwise, you'll leave me here to just ramble bamble through everything. First thing that comes to mind, tangents. But again, John has got the No Name Nationals up and running. The registrations are open, so I can't recommend it enough for you. Even if you can't get your car there, take your daily. Take a flight and rent a car to get to the track. You will absolutely have the time of your life out there. Well, how about that, Bader? Happy birthday, man. It's another year. And see there, you're finally legal. Now you can don't have to. You can trade in that fake ID. Now you can get it on the legal side, right? So, what's everybody else been working on besides trying to find time? Boy, I'll tell you what. If I could find that, eesh, I'd box it up and sell it by the quart. Probably make $1 million in about a half hour if I can figure out how to do it. Those things are hard to get used to. Amen to that, Mater. I'm with you 200%. Of course, it's better to grow up than it is to grow out, right? I've been doing math. That is pi 1 radian is 360 over pi squared, or divided by pi. That's a lot of pi. What's going on, Dean? Great to see you. I love the shirt that we all sent you, man. That is so great. Custom made just for you. Some of the other things that I've gathered up, I already showed you all that stuff. I got my radiator in, I got my shroud, my electric fan, the thermal switch, all the works to get that grill shell, which is still sitting right over there, all set and ready. Got my hood ornament in. That one's going to be a surprise, though. A couple more velocity stacks. I was going to go with the bug catcher, but that Dust Devil, Brian over at Dust Devil's Garage, that bug catcher just looks so daggone good on his on the old knuckle duster. And I've always wanted to do one of them, but those big old velocity stacks with the K&N tall filters on them, they grew on me, so I ended up getting another set of them. They're sitting over there too. Anyway, got that. I got a disc brake conversion in for a half ton straight axle for a 50 Ford. Just so happened to have one of them laying around. So that truck that F4, that's a lot bigger front end. Actually, the axle beam is about the same, but the kingpins on the for it are a lot bigger. So it's a little tough to find parts for that, and the spindles are a little longer. I'll keep that one around though because I can convert that one to 69 through 74 Impala uh, rotors and do a disc brake conversion on it. To show you guys how to, well, I'll have to show you from what we did because that's what we used on the Doodle Bug, but that's actually a 3/4 ton, which is the same as a 1 ton. The straight axles are the same, and I'll show you how we converted that to run disc brakes using those Impala Caprice GM calipers and rotors. Anyway, I'll do up a video on that too. They're pretty simple. The key to doing that and doing a disc brake conversion for yourself is you got to find a place that sells bearings and only sells bearings. Here locally, we have one called Bearing and Industrial Supply. That's all they sell. Bearings are pretty much standard for everything. They make the same bearing fit for many other applications. So all you got to do is take it in and you show them your outer diameter and your inner diameter of what you're looking for, and they can pretty much match up anything and everything. Uh, on the case of that one, all we had to do was just machine down the spindles just a little bit, but it's where the bearing gets it sets into place. So it doesn't hurt nothing. And by a little, I mean just a little with the flapper disc, just machined it off just a little bit, get the bearing to slide on there. The other, and I'll get the part for that Timken bearing part for you if you're interested in doing do it yourself disc brake conversion on a 3/4 to 1 ton straight axle. Holy cow, that's a whole lot. But this one I'm doing easy because I've already got a half ton straight axle. The kit came from Speedway. Again, it was during their Christmas special. I think I paid $225 for the whole kit. Come with rotors, hoses, everything you need for it. So, except for the master cylinder and that part of it. But all your calipers, the brackets, everything. And I'll show you all how to set them up once I get down into it. Well, I'll be dadgum. Look at there. We got royalty in the house. What is going on, Jeff? Good to see you, man. I'll tell you what, Rowdy Larry T-Bird, I still call it Larry T-Bird. That 521 you did in there has been a monumental inspiration for me to jump back in and really push these big block Fords. Hats off to you, my friend. You, you're a, you just inspired me to just do it. Thanks, man. Old McDonald has a car. What's going on? How late am I? Ah, right on time. Not promoting anything except responsible Scott drinking. Responsible Scott drinking. So anyway, I got that going. What else I got in the mix? Kind of going back and forth on whether to bag this one or not. Uh, Bags are nice, but they're awful spongy. You get a lot of roll with airbags, and it puts the that York compressor on it, and it sits up there quite a ways. I'm going back and forth. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up. I'm going to put it all up there. I'm going to leave it up to you guys to vote on it. Because like I said, I could go either way. Just the look of the compressor up on there. Yeah, I could do with it or without it. But when I get to that point, I'll put it up to a vote for you guys, and whether we're going to bag it or spring it, one of the two. I've got lots and lots of springs all over the place around here, coil springs. I keep most of them. They always come in handy, and they're pretty versatile. Ford, Chevy, Mopar, well, Mopar only used front springs, coil springs for what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then you guys went torsion bar. Bag and tag. Looks like we already got a vote for bags right there. The one thing I can say about bags is it gives you adjustable ride height. So you get into a little sketchy spot and you need to raise up a little bit, it's nice to have them bags. The bad thing about them is their air and air connections. No matter how many precautions you take, no matter how good you put them together, they will always eventually start to leak. So kind of going back and forth on it, especially something I intend to be driving quite a bit. But who knows? I'll probably do it. Look at there, Bryce, my buddy friend. What's going on, man? Boom, baby. What's going on down there in Arizona? I haven't had a chance to catch you much, but I'm still watching. How's Frankie coming? And you know what? Those stickers that you sent me, well, it was the first No Name Nationals. Those stickers that you sent me are still looking pretty good. I need to do a picture of that and show off all you guys' stickers after what, 3 years, 4 years now? Some of them held up really good, others, yeah, not so well. Running around all the car shows, huh? Boy, you get a start early. We still got another 2 months before anything starts opening up here. Of course, we still got about, I'd say about 4 or 5 inches of snow out there. It's been melting pretty good though. I used to wear a brown leather tam in high school, similar to what you got on, Barrels. Oh, really? The good old flat cap. I like it because I can stick my head down into places. I'm always working on something. In fact, look at there. I got anti-seize up on the top of my head. That's a good place to keep it, right there, right up on top of your head. But with the baseball cap, it's always in the way. The bill gets hung up or something. And this one, I'm always able to move around. And if it falls off, it just kind of lays flat. Or if I take it off and put it in my pocket, it just folds up flat and I can, it's kind of my Swiss Army hat. When I'm doing a lot of work outside, on like running around on the tractor and that though, I wear a boonie. Otherwise, top of my ears just fizzle fry. And I wear it for the exact same reasons as I wear these, because something's going to break and I'm going to have to stick my head in something. So I use that because the brim's all floppy. So if I'm laying down working on something, I don't have to worry about it popping off. I don't have to worry about the front of it catching on stuff and kicking it off. You just did a bunch of work to Frankie, huh? Sweet. We still have about 18 inches of snow on the ground here. I imagine. Up there by them lakes, yeah. And like I was saying, you guys get that wet stuff. Oh, here well, we're in the high plains desert, so the snow comes down like powder here until it melts. It gets a little warmer, and then yeah, it gets just nasty. And then here coming next month, and probably in April, sometimes we've even been hit in May with it. We'll always get hit with one last big, heavy snowstorm, and it knocks a bunch of trees down. Every year, you can almost set it like clockwork that it's going to happen. But it has been a pretty mild winter this year. I mean, we only dabbled below zero for, I would say, about a week total uh, throughout the whole winter. I'm kind of digging this winter. I am one county away from all the lake effect snow, huh? I can only imagine what those other counties have. One time or another, that guy's going to fix that exhaust leak on that old Chevy. I don't know if you heard it go by there. It's a blue and white OBS, and it's not running all that great, but it's been running that way for probably about 6, 7 years. I love living in a place you can identify somebody by the sound of their car. Let's see what else I got to cover there. Uh, Transmission, I'll be showing you our little trick too for a good, cheap, and easy stall converter. Uh, it's cheap and easy because it's what Ford does. It's no secret. A lot of people know it. You use a torque converter for a mid 80s F250 that came with a C6 automatic and a 302. The torque converter is it's a lot smaller torque converter, and it's got a higher stall in it to get the RPM up a little bit for that little 302 to pull a 3/4 ton. I think they're like a 2800 stall stock. I mean, they're nothing really super fancy. They're not I don't know, like a B&M or TCI or any of those, actual racing torque converters, but just for a daily driver or a street warrior, plenty good. And it's all stock stuff, so if anything bad happens to it, well, you can get them anywhere. Well, anywhere that has them. Yeah, supply chain issues are everywhere. But it is still, you know, a stock part. You just have to, yeah, know where the stock is that you're looking to stock up on. And in this one, I'm going to be using the Lincoln C6. I think I already did it. Yeah, I already did a video on that. C6s are not all created equal. There's two different types. There's the two-wheel drive pickup one, which I really like because the bell housing comes almost straight down and then into the transmission part. So it's a real easy to fit that one into tight places up around the firewall and everything. Then you have the Lincoln one or the ribbed one. It's kind of the same setup, but it's got big strengthening fins that go up on the top of it and down. Actually, the 4L, I, I forget the numbers, but the overdrive automatic that replaced the C6, basically a C6 with overdrive, 4L. I'd have to look up the numbers. They escape me. My mouth wouldn't spit them out anyway. Anyway, they say that is just a C6 with overdrive. Well, it's actually a Lincoln C6 with overdrive, not the regular Ford C6. There we go. E40D. E40D. There we go. And now, see, that's almost wanting to say it. Thanks for saving my bacon there, Dean. And yes, that one is just a C6 with overdrive, basically. But they copied the Lincoln one, not the standard Ford. The standard Ford doesn't have the strengthening ribs in it, and it fits into tighter, easier places. The reason I'm going to use the Lincoln one is because I got it. There's some other differences too. The way they mount in the back are a lot different, and the Lincoln one is actually 3-4 inches longer than the standard one too. And they use the Lincoln one in other models too. You'll find them in Mercury's. It was just developed for Lincoln is all. Ford used it all the way down the line. The C6 and the 460, yeah, they're kind of a pivotal moment for the Ford Motor Company. That's when Ford pretty much did away with their separate engine departments and transmission departments, and just started incorporating everything into. That's when a Ford engine was in a Lincoln, it was in a Mercury. They didn't have separate engines and transmissions after that for them. And that all started around the time of the 460, the 385 series, when it replaced the Mel. The De Tomaso Longchamp Coupe and the De Tomaso Duval Saloon with the 351 Cleveland uses the non-Lincoln F100 C6 transmission from 70 to 89. Sweet. And I know exactly why they did it too. Yeah, because it's a lot easier to fit into real tight little spots. I've got 2 of those, and yeah, I'm keeping them for my 58s. That C6 was usually behind the 351 truck engines. Yep. And the vans. If you can find a van, it'll have that in it too. The E series. I know, because that's where both of mine came from. And around here, it's easy to find a two-wheel drive van, but a two-wheel drive pickup, they're kind of a rare breed up here in Idaho. You see a pickup, it's a four-wheel drive. So I was able to scrap out two vans. Well, one of them was that motorhome. You guys all seen it. In fact, that's the video I did the comparison on them, because I've got both of the Lincoln Long C6 and that one sitting side by side. How did the AMC 390 compare to the Ford 390? I would have to say Ford beat them on that. The AMC 390, you can get a little more RPM out of, but the Ford 390, just like all FEs, has got such just a flat torque curve all the way through the RPM. That's hard to beat. And they keep their torque up all the way through. Whereas 390 out of the AMC, it's kind of like all the others, like the Chevy small blocks, Mopars. The torque comes in and falls off and lets the horsepower take over. The big advantage of a Ford 390, if you're not real good at shifting gears, you don't have to too much. All you got to do is lay into it coming out of the corner, and she'll pull you right on through. But the AMC doesn't have quite the torque up there, so you'll be downshifting it. I hope that helps. I've only drove two AMCs, 390s. One. No, I take that back. One. The other one was a 305 or 304. And that 304 had a 727 torque flight transmission behind it. AMC, good Lord, you gotta love them guys. And you'll really see it in their intake manifold. If you take their intake manifolds and set them side by side, the 390 and the AMC ones, you'll see why the AMC's got why the torque falls off and the horsepower takes over, whereas the 390 stays nice and flat and level, steady climb. Wasted Talent Fabrication. What's going on? Haven't seen you in a little while. Great to see you, man. I just wish they still made more stuff for AMCs on their oddball engines like that. They work great engines. AMC made some really good stuff. AMC and International both. In fact, sometimes I'll confuse the two. With the 360 in it, with the Torque Commando transmission. It was pretty quick, yeah. Well, Sidewinder, what's going on, my friend? Great to see you, man. And in fact, it was an ambassador that, right? Or was that a Matador? that had the 390 in it. I think it was a Matador. There's an old man that lived 4 houses down from where I grew up. Had the, I call them seatbelt door handles on it. It looked, their door handles on those AMCs, they look like those old flip top seat belts. Always like that. And then the guy I went to high school with, he had a Javelin, but it had a 304 in it. 305, 304. It was a good little car though, and pretty doggone quick for what it was. He locked you out. AMX Javelin had the 390. Matador was also a two-seater, but smaller. I thought for sure that was a Matador, but yeah, it might not have been. Might have been an Ambassador. It was a funny looking car. And all I was able to do with it is just go around the block a couple of times, test driving it after, what the heck did we do? Well, we did multiple things to it over the years. But the first time I did it, I think it was after a brake job. That was for Shirley Short. There's a guy named Shirley, and his last name was Short, and he was a short little guy. He was a heck of a cool guy, though. Made his own, he had a distillery sitting up in one of his sheds. He had multiple sheds on his property. Drove around on that in that old AMC, and he had an international pickup as well. As a 69 International A10. I forget what them. It was the little pickup, like a quarter ton. Had the torsion bar front end under it. A lot like a Mopar car, but it was a pickup. little tiny little short box on it. Anyway, good old Shirley. He would make dandelion wine. He made all kind. He distill if he could find sugar in anything, he was distilling it. Our Ambassador was a 4-door, so it could have been an ex-cop car. Yeah, Shirley's was too. Well, dadgum, what's going on, Yubi? Great to see you. You finally made it in. Oh, great to see you, man. Have you been up to your place up in Montana yet? Holy cow, I've been watching the weather up there. Yeah, they got a little bit up there. It's the best part about weather like that, though, is it keeps the riffraff out. Great, man. Thanks for coming on in. Like I was saying earlier, I haven't had a chance to do a whole lot of videos. As you all know, I am so far behind. But yeah, getting back into the lives again. I'm going to try to do these every week again. Saturdays, unless you see me pop up during the week because I missed one because they shuffled my schedule around again. But more likely, this is going to be my time slot from now on again. Back to the original Saturday Night Live, Saturday Pickup Live. May head there in the summer to retrieve my 4x8 shed. Yeah, like I say, we get a little bit of their weather on our weather channel, and yeah, you guys have been getting hit pretty hard up there. Most of it's for Missoula, though. Sure, you can. Lay 'em on. I do all the time. It's funny, everybody knows me as a Ford guy, but actually, I play with Fords because they challenge the heck out of me. I'm actually more familiar with Chevy. Small block Chevy, they are just so doggone easy and so versatile and so open to changing. There, there's a reason everybody puts a small block Chevy in everything because it will go in almost anything. As long as your cross member will allow it, it'll fit in there. And the biggest thing I like about them is you can adjust the valves off the rockers. Oh, these solid rockers, just, oh, yeah. You got to play the shim game or uh, buy shorter push rods, and you got to, it's just complicated as all heck when you try to do a cam or anything valve train related in, well, Mopar and Ford. Yeah, you play that game. Chevy, if you take if you change your your lift and all that stuff, you can adjust it out of it with the rockers. Super simple. Yeah, I always knew you were a bow tie guy. Actually, I'm an old car guy. I play with all of them, but Ford challenges me. It really does, and that's why I love playing with Ford because yeah, Ford will keep you on your toes more so than Mopar, I'd have to say. Sure, appreciate that wasted talent. Yeah, you hit that little like button or it does something. I don't know, something with that computer algorithm stuff. Never wrenched on a Chevy. Might develop a rash. But I will say the thing that I absolutely hate about Chevy is every time I go to look up Ford parts, the first thing on the list on these dang computers is Chevy. I go to look up an intake manifold and oh, I'll get like 20 small block Chevy, small block Chevy, small block, even though I typed in exactly what I'm looking. I type in big block Ford 429, 460, and I got to scroll through about 6 small block Chevy intake manifolds to get to the grease. But that's the good thing when you have a Chevy is you got so many different options. I do wish that Ford and Mopar would have gone the way of GM when it comes to aftermarket. Uh, and it's Chevy, not General Motors. Because Oldsmobile, Buick, Pontiac, Cadillac, those ones are all just like Ford and Mopar. They're very little parts to uh, play with. Nothing fits nothing else. Yeah, yeah. When you deal BOP, it's not Chevy. And the prices go way up. I can almost build a small block Chevy for the price of a Pontiac intake. Yeah. But going back to what I was talking about, if only those guys, Ford and Mopar, instead of, like Mopar had direct connections for all of their aftermarket Go Fast goodies or, their factory Go Fast goodies. Ford had Ford Racing for their Go Fast goodies. Chevy had Victor Elderbrock. GM just took them the small block and said, "Here, Victor, have fun. Do whatever you can with it, and just have fun. Sell whatever you can for it." And it exploded. That and the fact that Chevy developed it in their small block in '55 and did very, very minimal changes clear until what 97, 98 when they finally dropped the Vortec, and the LS is very close, very, very close to the same as the small block. So they changed the mounts a little bit, and they changed the bolt pattern on the bell housing just a little bit, but easy to get adapters for. I don't know. We always used to say we could buy Chevy parts anywhere, even at TGYs. And it's true. You go into any O'Reilly's, any AutoZone, any of those, and they got that little tiny little performance section, and everything in it is small block Chevy. Everything. Well, I can't say everything because a lot of stuff on a small block will fit on a big block as well. So everything's small block, big block, Chevy. It took the Dodge brothers to show Ford how to oil their engines. Actually, no, that was Willys. Willys was the first to come out with the pressurized oiling system. When the Dodge brothers were still involved with Ford, they were still flappers and slingers. We've got the second year. Yeah, the second year of Willys with the uh, pressurized oiler. It's got an oil pump. And oil passage is drilled for, the cam and the uh, crankshaft. But if you bought a Model T Ford, you bought a Dodge. All Henry did was the body and the marketing. It was the Dodge brothers that built that car. ...1913 Dodge engines in Ford? Technically no, because the Dodge brothers used to own Ford. They were partners with Henry Ford. And then Henry bought them out, and they went off and created the Dodge brothers. Well, how about it? What's going on, Dexter? We got no fear.
The Dexter's here. Did I hear Dodge brothers?
Yeehaw!
John and Horace. What's happening?
Great guys. Rowdy, too.
Oh, yeah. They were hard partying dudes.
Oh, yeah.
They would go out, get drunk at a speakeasy, rip the places to shreds, and then go back 2 days later and pay for the whole rebuild.
Yep. That's why a lot of people didn't want to actually work with them, because you had to bail them out of jail on Monday.
Yeah. Again,
that was a weekly occurrence.
I mean, any someone can have a bad day. I could see once, but again, like, he didn't show up on Monday. Did he? Again?
But they were the best team in Detroit.
Yeah. Yeah, they were hard partying dudes for sure. Finding the old video of the Dodge test track is really cool. It's some of it's board track, and you've got a speed oval on the outside, and then you've got a hill, all manufactured, all board track. And all year they show all the seasons of them driving too. So there's one it's a frosty February day in Detroit, Michigan, and there they are driving the new Dodges around on the track. That's how I think they all got driven to make sure they were viable before they left.
And they were a heck of a car.
They really were.
But they were expensive.
Yes, compared to the Model T, because everything that the Dodge brothers recommended that Ford do, he never did. They said, guys, people really want a gas gauge. Oh, you don't need a gas gauge. Who would want a gas gauge? Right. Which later they came with Model T's came with a gas gauge, the float.
Yep.
Thing. But yeah, you don't need a gas or electric gas gauge, and so on and so forth.
Our Willys has got a gas gauge, but it's in the back. You got to get out of the car, walk around to the back, and look, and it's got the the roller float.
Have you ever seen any of the cars that have a floating oil gauge?
Like an oil level?
An oil level, yes, floating on the oil.
And a couple of tractors that have got a sight gauge.
Yeah, sight glass.
Same thing. Yeah.
This is actually a little metal peg, and it actually has all its fractions on it, and it floats on top of the oil. So you don't even have to get a rag wet. As long as that's free, you can just look at it and, yep, pour it down.
Reach over and tap on it, make sure it's not stuck.
Tap on it, make sure it's buoyant. Yep. Oh,
okay.
Yep. Pour it down. I've only seen one on a car, and that was I don't remember what it was. The same guy had a Maxwell with a chicken whistle on it, which is like a decompression gauge or whatever, and it makes a chirp, 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 chirp sound. So the old man called it his chicken whistle. Smelled something rotten. Really, what it ends up being is Mater's breath blown back in his face. So,
yeah, but that's what Henry was all about. He He was building Geo Metros.
Yes. He was building Geo Metros, and he was very hesitant. He made it as good as he could, and then he didn't want to do a damn thing more. It was perfect. That's what the world wants, and you know. So why is the Model T a Model T, but the T precedes a Model A? Why?
It was an original A.
There was an original A, and then a B, and a C, and a D, E, F, G, H, I. They said that the K was a great car, but way too heavy, and more revisions, and then finally ended on T. So they got it right the first time with the Model A.
But the Model K was it was more of a luxury car. That's
The
when he
Model
had
K, Model K looks like a tank, but there's one of the models that's got a really sporty, sleek 32 Ford-esque look to it. And that one didn't get.
I take it back. The Model C is actually Cadillac.
Okay.
That's when
Cadillac Ford time.
Acquired from the Henry Ford Motor Company, and Leland took his place and changed the name of the company to Cadillac.
Okay. So you're talking about original Ford Motor Company that went defunct. Yes.
The Henry Ford Motor Company.
Really, today's Ford Motor Company is Ford Motor Company 2.
3.
3?
Yeah. Then there was the Detroit Motor Company.
Ah.
And it defaulted too. Because he didn't pay dividends to
that happened during the Dodge brothers.
Pendleton, yeah.
When he was refusing to pay dividends to, that was at the time when he was trying to build River Rouge Assembly, which is a city. It's a city all by itself. It has its own fire department and everything. Anyways, when he was building River Rouge, he was backplowing all profits into the company for advancement, and his investors got ornery. And this is so that's when prime time when the Dodge brothers were there, and they got in for a $10,000 investment.
$10,000 was a lot of money back then.
The Dodge brothers had it made, Jack. They were a supplier of Ford and dividends. So they were supplying parts, getting paid for their parts, and then also getting paid dividends.
There we go. Ransom Olds.
Ransom Olds.
They were still making transmissions for Ransom Olds.
He is very beloved. We're gonna go out to over by Lansing. I mean, they build Oldsmobiles in Lansing until the end, and now it's the Camaro plant. But they build Oldsmobiles in Lansing, and if you go to the Olds Museum in Lansing, that's really interesting. And then you can go to the cemetery and look at Mr. Olds' mausoleum. It's impressive.
Didn't Oldsmobile invent the steering wheel?
I don't know.
Before that, they used a tiller.
Well, I think there's been wheels in. Yeah, there's tillers. A lot of those are tiller steered. That's a question that I don't know, but I'm interested to find out the answer. No, because I think a 1909 Cadillac has a steering wheel and not a tiller.
I don't know.
Or is a 1909 Cadillac a tiller steer? Let's find out, shall we? Talk amongst yourselves.
The Corvair was a Z, the Tempest a Y, the Toronado Eldorado E's, and just to funk up Fords, we go backwards. The original town fire truck was a 29 Double A, huh? Not a TT? I figured it'd be they call them a tall T. TT.
Tall teeth?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the motorcycle race. Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, a 1909 Cadillac has a right-hand drive steering wheel. So, I don't know. That's a great question that I can't answer.
That's another bit of weird, wacko automotive trivia. It took a while for us to standardize left-hand drive.
Yeah,
There
and
for a while, it was both.
so you know why Americans drive on the wrong side of the road and why we drive on the wrong side of the car versus the rest of the world? Because screw you, England. That's really what it is. Because traditionally, if you were to get into a carriage, you would sit on the right side of the carriage seat to drive the horse. You always sit on the right, and then so your sword hand is free. Same thing with the English; they drive on the right, so their sword hand is free. And then here in America, we're like, screw you.
Is different for us. Every boat is on the other side.
It was really interesting. I got to drive a mail Jeep, and it was right-hand drive Jeep, and I slid the door shut, get into it, and then I drive, and it's got a manual transmission, but the shifter's on your left. And
Yeah.
I don't know the pedals are the same, and I go, and it's just those stupid knee jerk reactions. Do you know how many times I banged my hand on the door trying to grab the gear shift? Oh, need to do something. Slam! Oh, damn it! It's over here.
And I can't get this hand to do it. It will not work that H pattern.
Right. Well, you can do it. It's just like handwriting offhand. You can do it, but it doesn't look nice.
It's not right. Yeah.
I knew one guy who could write perfect penmanship with both hands because he was really left-handed, but at home he had to be right-handed because his old man would punish him if he didn't use his right hand.
Craziest thing I ever seen was a gal that she was a secretary at Fanning Wholesale when I worked there.
Mm-hmm.
Debbie Caverhill. She could have two phones, the old phones with the shoulder brace on them, so you could just tuck them up like this and still talk on the phone. She had two phones like this and two 10 keys taking orders, two separate orders, and not mess up. I have never seen anything like that in my life, and she was quick.
There are just some people that are just uber talented.
I could barely 10 key with one hand.
Exactly. Well, it was interesting.
Taking parts numbers, two of them at the same time, opposite. I had no way.
Yeah. I don't know how, that you got to be good enough to know maybe it's anticipation or just knowing orders or how they flow or whatever. And who knows? And whoever thought of something crazy where they're like, you know what? It's so slow for me. I want to try two. And there's just some people, I mean, that's one of the things I did for years. I worked in assembly cells for auto parts for over 10 years. And you turn a stupid job into a game, even if it's, Kim on first shift made 270 parts. I can definitely do 275. I have to bust ass to do it, but I'm going to beat Kim's numbers, man. And it was a monotonous job that you finally, you just did something to make it interesting. What if you're primarily the world is right-handed, but you're right? See, I'm left-handed, so yeah, I'm driving on the left-hand side of the car. Oh yeah, on guard. And I could ride my motorcycle and use a lead propulsion device and still stay on the throttle and keep the bike right. Effectively use a lead propulsion device.
Actually, poor penmanship is a sign that you're actually left-handed, but you learn by watching. So you learn to write with your right hand because you watch everybody, and everybody teaches you right-handed.
Yep.
So they say that, yeah, a sign of bad penmanship, more likely you're left-handed.
Yep.
The way to check is to do your eye check with the diamond. You focus on something up
Oh yeah.
the wall, and
I
you
was always
put
told
the
to
diamond
do it
to
like
your
that.
face. Yeah, same thing. And whichever eye you end up pointing to, that's you. That's your dominant side.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of the things an old guy he'd start showing you things at the pool hall, and he wanted to know what eye dominant you are. And then because he'd talk about having people line up to a pool cue and they're being right-handed but left eye dominant, and they're actually lining up for shots, looking down everything with their dominant eye. And he's the one who finally says, if you're left eye dominant, have you ever tried shooting pool left-handed? Oh, I don't know. We'll give it a try. And all of a sudden, hey, it works better.
Firearms, same way.
Yep.
Archery, firearms.
We used to have.
What I would do is do the dominant check for people before I even showed them a gun.
Yes. Well, we used to do woods walks. We do living history, 1800 to 1840, the fur era, fur trading era, and well, you seen my camp, or I brought some of that camp stuff out to No Name Nationals last year. Well, anyways, you have a woods walk, and it's usually 18 stops like golf, and where you just fling lead down range and hit targets. And sometimes you get interesting places where you have to throw lead down range, and you have to take a cherry tomato off of a golf tee without hurting the golf tee. You have to shoot. They hang up bottles of water, and then you have to propel lead at them. And then if you hit the water bottles just right, because they're all hang up in a flat a big stack by strings, and they start to ooh out water. It's cool to watch. One of the best ones is where you've got a guy with a rifle and a guy with a boomstick, and you have a can of pop and an empty pop can on top of that, and it's got to be cheap, warm soda. You have the guy with the rifle shoot the can of shook up soda, which explodes and pushes the beer can up high into the air, and then the boomstick guy puts as many pellets into it as he can, and that's how you win. It's called a rabbit and quail, and that's actually a lot of fun.
I like shoots like that. That's why I got so heavy into like 3D.
Yes.
With archery.
There is this great, I don't even know if it's still around, but up in the northern lower peninsula, there is a place where you can go, and it's a 3D archery range, and it's on your honor. The guy set up all sorts of cool stuff on his 3D archery range, and you can go there, pay a fee, and just roam around and shoot for the day. And he's got one where it's a bird, and it comes down across the whole thing. You got to rig it all up and set it. But yeah, you actually can have a bird at your perch. You have a bird coming at you that you can fling an arrow at. As a matter of fact, my lady. Go ahead, Kim.
Use your poofs for that one.
Yeah.
They got the fletchings are all fluffy.
Yep.
So they don't travel very far. It's for shooting upland game.
Have you ever heard of an atlatl? ATL?
Oh, yeah.
Space ATL?
Oh, yeah. Arizona is the only state you can actually legally hunt with them.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't even think that they were not allowed to hunt. Yeah, there's natives that drop big game with those things, with weighted arrows.
Yeah, they're different. Have you ever
Yeah.
used one?
Yes,
I
many
can't say
times.
I've had
There's
them fun, but I've used one.
well, I was so interested in one, and I went to a camp and for Father's Day, and there was a bowyer there that was taking broken bows that come back that he can't save, and he goes, what are you going to do with it? I'll do something with it. And he'd take those broken bows, especially if they had a break in the center of the handle, he turned them into two atlatls.
Oh,
And
really?
so it's perfect for that. And he'd take a piece of antler, the point of a piece of antler, and then glue it in and tie it in so it's good and firm. And then he'd have atlatls and arrows ready to go, all with the big. They use fur on the atlatl as fletching, and usually your arrows are about nipple high to you. And
Yeah,
one
they're about
evening,
2.5,
I was
3 foot.
there. I was there earlier in the day checking it out and flung a couple arrows. So later that evening, he comes over and it's still daylight. And he's like, "Here, come on, let's play." And we just sat there and shot the breeze and just got actually pretty decent flinging those arrows. And that was actually cool. I could only imagine being able to like sprint, get a good head of speed, and then with all the motion I have, then spank with all the power I have an arrow. Oh man.
Yeah, a good friend of mine. He's a traditional bowyer too.
Yep.
That is a weird thing to say.
Oh, yes.
He builds longbows,
Yes.
Yumi, all kinds of bows, and he does atlatls. But
Right.
every year he goes to Arizona because it was the only state that he could legally hunt. He hunts javelinas there,
Okay. Yeah, cool.
little Studebaker pigs. Call them Studebakers because from the profile they're the same on
They're
both ends,
tender little guys.
same shape. But they will mess you up. Don't mess around with a javelina.
Oh yeah. A friend of mine, I know a couple guys that are bowyers, but the one guy, what he does is he goes and finds the straightest Osage orange trunks that he can. Usually it's lemon wood or it's Osage orange, and but usually it's Osage orange. And he will get a good circumference, straightest piece of Osage that he can make, and he'll start making staves out of it. And then he gets like I don't know how many staves of the pie cuts, but then he saves the heartwood of it and he makes his personal bows out of heartwood. And then everyone else gets a outer staff, which is still a great bow, but his is, heartwood. Be right
Also, the
back.
thing about a Yumi is the heartwood is a totally different wood. It's soft. The outer
Right.
wood is hard.
No. The center of the log.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will be right back. I'm going to show you some of our archery stuff. Be right
Oh,
back.
sweet. Years ago, I used to shoot for Archery Research, AR. Traveled around doing 3D competition shoots with them. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot more fun than the stationary bullseye target, that's for dang sure. See, we're talking about anything and everything on Barrel's Garage. Archery, those things that go boom, cars, you name it. We'll just talk about anything and everything. Pennsylvania is legal for the atlatl now. Oh, sweet.
Oh. Hi, everybody. My name's Dougster, and today's show and tell. Cedar shaft arrow with field tip. And it's a synthetic fletching, but it's well done and hand painted.
Sweet.
Yeah. And see if I can't get the Rawhide. There we go. Rawhide wrapped on for our knocks and everything. All wood.
Sweet.
And, this is all Lady Dougster's stuff. I was gonna get an Atlatl until I don't know, we kind of fell out of doing it hardcore, but this is Lady Dougster's quiver, and it's silver fox.
Wow.
See its eyes? There you go. Those are its eyes. Its face is tucked up. That's actually covered in silver fox. And it is beautiful. It is soft. And then I think this is Osage. Yes, it's Osage. Lady Dougster's bow. Handmade by Boyer.
Nice.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's made of locust. It's made of locust
wood.
It doesn't say. Oh, it's a Krogel bow, Krogel, and it said custom made for Seedorf.
Sweet.
Wow. Yep.
That is too cool.
Yeah, this is
a chance to go up to the Fred Bear Museum.
I have yet to be to the Fred Bear Museum, and I so want to go. There actually used to be a Fred Bear where I live. There actually, within a few miles of my house, used to be a Fred Bear Museum out here in Michigan. And I'm in Southwest Michigan.
I've been to the Howard Hill one, and that's in Hamilton, Montana.
Oh, Hamilton, Montana. I was about to say Hamilton, Michigan ain't that far away from me.
But I've never been to Fred Bear. Always wanted to. Dave is another one that,
as a kid, making trade, and that was a big thing. Me and a lot of guys, we used to trade just big piles of stuff for big piles of stuff. And one time I got in a trade a Bear Super Kodiak recurve. The deluxe model with the gold lever on the side on the grip. And it was for a lefty. That was even better. And so it's great. It's the top of the line one that's fully dismantleable, so I can step up my poundage or step down my poundage. And actually, it was what Fred Bear shot, even though the company made the compound. Fred Bear was so used to old school archery, he couldn't shoot the compound, so he always shoot a Super Kodiak. So it ends up
always threw him off.
Right, always threw him off. I think it was the let off that he had a problem with. And
snap shooter, just like Howard Hill was.
Yep. Yeah, snap shoot. You just go, let it fly. Boom. And you can't just sit there and go, yeah, I can wait for you. Here you go. No, it's done. So stupid me. Guy goes, you got that bow? I'm looking for a bow. And I thought, oh, yeah, Super Kodiak. I'll give you $40 for it. Okay. You don't know what you don't know. It's just things you find out after the fact. I just wish that because it was a Grayling. It was made in Grayling. And yeah. Oh well. It's called paying your stupid tax, and I've paid mine with zeros on the end. JB.
Oh Lord, yeah. Sometimes with blood too.
And is there a worse place to wound yourself than on the knuckle?
Oh man, especially
yeah.
You can't get a Band-Aid on it.
No, and then it doesn't heal for crap because you constantly use the dadgum thing. Oh yeah, those are always great.
Cutting the chain with the cutoff wheel because I was too lazy to run back to the shop and grab the chain breaker.
Yep.
Holding it, getting it out just about there, and you know what happens. It
Yep.
binds, comes back, and the cutoff wheel runs right across your knuckles.
Yep.
Ruined a good pair of gloves, dadgummit.
I'd much rather it be gloves than you. I've also learned that when shit goes haywire, that's the time, and nothing bad happens to you, but shit went haywire. That's how I look at it is you've been warned.
Yep. If you walk away, yeah, okay. Well,
You've
I
been
ain't gonna do that again.
Yep. Oh, wait, we're definitely not doing that again. Years ago, I'm at a friend of mine's laydown yard for an excavation company, and we're having beers. And the guy's like, "Hey, move that." It was a grater. And I said, "Where do you want to move to?" I thought he was serious. "Where do you want to move to?" And he goes, "Over here." All right. And I jump up in it, and they expect me to jump in it because on that particular one, there was a rainbow of levers above the steering wheel. And they expected me to look at that and be intimidated. Well, I worked on farms as a high school student. All the time we got thrown on something. Move that. Oh, I don't know how. Figure it out, kid.
Yeah.
We got to get this moved.
Learn
Okay. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. So, yeah, I jump in it and okay. Okay, here's start. All right, cool. Engine runs forward, backwards. What does this do? What does this do? What does this do? What does this do? And I moved the damn thing over. And they were so impressed that I did that. You told me to do it.
I'm actually better with all the levers than the joysticks.
Yeah.
So when you combine it all into one, yeah. It's too complicated.
And then you got to do it's like a big rig shifter, except it's all in. Yeah.
And there's no feel to it. If I can feel what my bucket's doing and my arm is doing and everything, you feel the vibration, you can feel the hydraulic fluid, you know what your pressures are just from the feel.
Yep.
Yeah,
you know, I just need to tap it.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen some of those really cool videos where those guys are just doing all sorts of neat tricks. Like my favorite one was a cell phone and a cigarette lighter, the push button, clickable kind. And the guy's got the bucket finger out, and he's got the lighter pushed down. The lighter's lit, and he didn't crack the screen on the phone.
Yeah, I ain't that good.
The other one that makes me laugh even more is guys are on a construction site, and the guy goes, "Hey, you want to see a trick? Check this out." And he says, "Throw your helmet, throw your hard hat on the ground." And the guy's sitting in the excavator. He's not the one talking. It's another guy. And the guy goes, "Okay, cool." And he throws his hard hat in there. And the guy takes his excavator bucket out and he taps it 3 times with one of the bucket fingers. Tap, tap, tap. And then he picks it up and goes, slam! It smashes it into the ground. Pretty cool trick, huh? That was funny. Want to see a trick? Yeah, okay. Great trick.
How we make a hard hat disappear?
How to make a hard hat disappear? Wasn't it a Schwarzenegger movie where he made a pencil disappear? No, that was Batman. Made the pencil disappear. Joker, one of the Joker movie.
I don't
Somehow the guy gets his head slammed onto a table and a pencil goes into his head. He made a pencil disappear. I don't remember the movie.
Was that the Joker?
I think that was the Joker, the Heath Ledger Joker.
Oh, Heath Ledger. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Dark Knight.
There you go.
Yeah, it's
I
bad.
knew you were smelling what I was stepping in.
Heath Ledger did do a pretty good job. I
Yeah.
gotta give. Yeah. Jack Nicholson's hard to beat, though.
Well, why not? Especially when you got the cadence and talk like Jack. One of my favorite Jack Nicholson movies is probably One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
That's
And
a classic.
yeah, that's a classic. And he was in Easy Riders. We're not talking about pork chops, boys. We're talking about grade A prime.
Speaking of classic movies, I got my mailbox topper too. Ah, ah.
Has it been cut off with a? Has it been cut off with a?
You know it.
with
And the pipe cutter is going to come out.
oh yeah,
Sit on
big
there.
old rigid pipe cutter. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know.
When you know, you know.
Lucas Jackson Boulevard.
Ah, Lucas War Hero. Lucas War Hero. Why did you say 50 eggs? Why didn't you say like 32? 50 seemed like a good number. What we got here, boys, is a failure to communicate. I don't like it. Anyone you do.
Reach.
No, man, you just can't reach. That's he wants. Well, he gets. Strother Martin. Strother Martin. He was in Gunsmoke, old black and white Gunsmoke, and I mean, he's got that distinctive voice and the cadence and everything. It's just the way that Strother Martin is. So funny.
I still use the line, grab that shovel like it was your spoon, boy. Come on, let's go.
Let's go.
Shaking it up. Yeah, shaking it up here, boss. I'm shaking it up.
Yeah, shook it right into the dump truck and split with it. The funny thing is that
movie Road, where I used to watch them back to back, and in fact, I still watch Cold Hand Luke about every other month.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Thunder Road, not so much anymore. It's getting hard to find.
Boy, I would like to have seen that movie colorized, because I imagine the 57 that Mitchum dies in the end of the movie, I imagine that car to be bright red and white.
Yeah, me too.
And the 50 Ford that was the runner that blew up, I figure that to be maybe a slate gray. Yes.
Like
yes.
Flowers. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Strother Martin was all over the place, and he's always got that voice.
That South Carolina and
crackling, yeah.
I don't know if he was from South Carolina. He might have been from Georgia, but.
And Leonard Nimoy was in westerns too. That's weird. You're like, hey, wait a minute, that cowboy's Spock.
Mr. Spock.
Mr. Spock. And of course, Slim Pickens and
when he rides it in, Slim Pickens. Yep. That's another one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yep. The the dump trucks were made by the White Corporation. And at that time, they had them. You'll see, if you watch Cool Hand Luke, pay attention, because you can see in the original movie, it's got chrome letters on the hood that say Power by White, or the other way around. And so they blur it out now. but at one time. So those old ones said that in chrome letters on the hood. Big ones, too. Went across the whole hood. Said powered by white, the other way around. Yeah, it's like, okay.
It means something different. Way
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
That's like doing a video on swapping a transmission and titling it Tranny Swap on Facebook. Yeah. Sons of guns.
What's wrong? It's a transmission, and I'm going, oh. Yep. Well, that's just like, the funny thing is there's a guy named Tom in our area that a friend of ours nicknamed, like, in 1990, Tranny Tom, because he built transmissions. That's got a whole new demeanor to it today. But at one time, it would bat an eyelash at that. Or just like, Kim, you and I are business partners. It'd be no different to say, hi, I'm Kim and this is Doug, my partner. Now they're like, oh, you guys are, no, we have a business together. Strictly business. Strictly business.
My grandpa, his name was Richard.
Yep.
It was actually his middle name, but that's a whole nother story.
Right.
But all of his friends called him Dick.
Of course.
He was grandpa to me.
Right.
Barely knew his name. But the first time one of his friends come up to the ranch and said, hey, Dick, how's it going? I said, what? Somebody sucked in the mouth here.
Well, there is a family that was Dick Sr. and Dick Jr. And so he did that purposely. So when he would be in town and he'd be with his son and people would go by and saying, hi, big, hi, little. That's right.
But Dick, that's one you don't hear anymore. That one.
My friend Dick is in his late 70s. And his son, who's a junior, is Rick.
That, and if somebody's named Jack, they're actually named Jack now, not John.
Yeah, not John. Yes. That's funny because John Cope's dad's real first name was John, but he went by Jack. My optometrist was John, and when he was served in World War II, everyone called him Jack.
Jack.
And if your last name's Nixon, then you can be Tricky Dick. I am not a crook. Not a crook.
And if your last name's Trickle, change your name.
Proudly displayed on his race car.
You gotta hand it to the guy. Oh, he owned it.
Names that sound like an STD for 200, Alex.
Actually, in road racing, when NASCAR does do more than just turn left.
Well, they're starting to really take a lot of that out. Yeah.
He dominated like Sears Point and Watkins Glen.
Yes. That's when I actually started to pay closer attention. It was way better to watch road course racing because that really separates the men from the boys.
I wish they'd do more of. So do they.
Yeah.
NASCAR teams wish they could do more of them because it costs twice as much to build a road track car than it does to build a circle car.
Oh, yeah.
And they only have, I think they've only got one race now. It's a super expensive car that only gets used once or twice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because you got to make it turn left and right.
Mm-hmm. And stop.
And stop. Yes. Just amazing. Especially when you see them standing on the binders and they're using it so much, it's just a glowing mass of metal.
Although I would like to go to Charlotte and Talladega. Those are two. Daytona, I could care less about.
Right. It's just for the history alone.
Yeah. But those two tracks. Oh, and Bristol, number one. I want to see the Salad Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's where aerodynamics have nothing to do with it.
Yep.
What was the Kyle Petty got the quote of the best thing that could happen to Bristol is it get filled in, made into a pond, and stocked with fish. Wow! Tell me how you really feel, Kyle. But I mean, that is a hard fight.
My son told me today that Ram is getting back into racing.
Nice.
Really? On the truck series? They still do that, right?
I don't know.
NASCAR so dang long.
Yeah, it's kind of fizzled out, hasn't it?
When Dale died, and it wasn't just because Dale died. The whole sport just changed. That very next season, everything changed.
Yep. Well, the money was already creeping in, but I think that's when it finally really got huge.
Popped the doors open and kicked them wide after that, and it just lost the essence of it.
Yep. And then we've got now like a points chase, and what I was watching a simulation. It was a 1970 Superbird against this year's Daytona, and they now do a thing where everyone has to pit at the same time to reset the field, so no one gets any advantage.
That's just stupid.
Right. So they do that.
Strategy.
Yeah, all strategy goes away because now everyone's forced to pit, and then you go back out, and then you're restarted to close the gap up.
That's like playing baseball with a wiffle ball bat. It's just not right.
I understand. Well, speaking of baseball, the Detroit Tigers, my beloved Detroit Tigers, this spring for spring training, they're going to be using robotic line judges as an experiment.
What?
Yes. So they're actually going to, because you watch replays now and they show the square, the white square. That's the window that you can throw a pitch into that's hittable. And they're now going to start making it, was that pitch inside or outside of that thing. And I don't agree with it. I mean, for well over 100 years, there's been human people making the calls. And now let's just keep it old school. Keep it classic. But no, technology has to be everywhere.
My biggest downfall on baseball is the intentional walks. If you get a good batter up there, the kind of money you're making, strike his ass out. Get up there and show what you can do.
Right. It's
that they play too many.
Oh God, yeah. I mean,
you're 4 times
like 150 games a season or something like that. Yeah. And real soon, catchers and pitchers are going to be reporting in Lakeland, Florida, or at least for my beloved Tigers. That is always
I didn't catch that. Well, not last year, but the year before, I became a Padres fan.
Okay.
Their new coach made it mandatory you have to stand for the national anthem. That did it for me. That's my team right there.
Yep. I like that. In 2018, when I went to Cooperstown, New York, because two famous Tigers went into the Hall of Fame that year. And so that was really cool. At the campground, we stayed at a KOA, and there was Padre fans there that drove their RVs across the nation just to see. I forget. I think it was Trevor. His last name. Anyways, a San Diego Padre went into the hall, and people actually were there to see him there. How cool is that? We only drove 12 hours. They drove a lot more.
I was a Red Sox fan before that, but
Okay. Bastion.
that's just because I grew up with Cheers, Sam Malone, and he never even played for them.
Remember when old Sammy would get his aftershave out, and he had that little splash in the air thing, and it would go over and land in his hand, and then or he's gonna go chat up the lady. All I can think of is that one episode where the brunette gets I can't think of her name. She gets dumped, and she's crying on Sam's shoulder, and Sam's instinctually, he knows where this is going to land him, and he lit the fireplace, and he just can't help himself. He finds some music and puts it on real low, soft music, puts it on low, and finally he's like, no, I gotta go. He's doing the right thing, and he calls her from a payphone. And she's like, why did you leave? And why are you calling me on the payphone? He's like, if I stay, I'm going to make a big mistake. And she goes, no, you're not. He goes, check and see. Are you wearing a bra? I was earlier. She goes, how'd you do that? Go Sam.
I think that was one of James Burrows' last sitcoms, wasn't it?
Good question. Maybe.
Taxi was brilliant.
Taxi was brilliant. Taxi. Jim, the Reverend Jim.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. He's great. The scene where he's figuring out what's in Latka's special cookies. Colombian. Good stuff.
The one where they got the Pac-Man machine in. That was great. DeVito gives him his paycheck in quarters. That and when they all got fired and he got a job as a vacuum cleaner salesman. He tears this lady's house apart. And he's dumping all this crap all over on her carpet and everything. And he goes, oh, don't worry. This here, and he pulls out an encyclopedia. This'll, oh, that's right. I didn't get that job as a vacuum cleaner. So, how would you like to buy an encyclopedia?
We had a awesome set of encyclopedias in the bookshelf in the stairwell of the house I grew up in, and A to Z, all sorts of stuff. And I would just poke around as a kid in those, and I came across a bunch of fighter aircraft designs, all by the Douglas Company, and there was like 3 pages of these neat looking, real sleek fighter plane looking things. I was just enamored with them.
Yeah, I've seen those pictures done on the Pocono, the old triangle. Yeah. And you and Buck does it. I think Buck drove his motorcycle on Watkins.
Oh, cool.
Pocono. That is too cool, man.
There's 2 road course raceways north and south of me. One is Gingerman Raceway south of me in Grand Haven or South Haven area, and then there's Grattan Raceway, which is up north of me. And Grattan is actually pretty cool. They've got real hairpin off camber turns in there that'll really sneak up on a guy if you're not careful. It originally was a drag strip, but the shutdown lane was getting too close to the main road as the cars got faster, so they decided to turn it into a road course. And then where the grandstands are, you're actually sitting on the original start line for the drag strip. So it's the drag strip, shutdown lane, and then a curve. And it's pretty. It's one of the prettiest prettiest race courses you'll ever see. Rolling hills and stuff. Cars disappear and they pop back out. It's cool.
I'm going to let you hold the fort here. I got to get something to drink here. I'll be right back.
I can totally do that.
There you go.
I'm full screen. Now I'm on the spot and I'm freezing up. Wish I could see the comments, which I can't, so I'm running blind. Well, I've got a set of K&N stub stacks that I got for a regular Edelbrock Performer that I am modifying to use on a AVS2 Edelbrock, which has got the big air horn for the air vacuum secondary. And as they wouldn't fit, so I'm having to modify them so it'll fit around the tower for the air vacuum secondary. And I'm almost got them milled and everything to where they'll fit on my AVS2, but they're still that far from actually seating down at the base of the carburetor. So I'm going to have to make myself a ring of some sort to go on that to bridge the gap. And then that way I can have a K&N stub stack on my AVS2. It'll work. I'm slowly having to machine the plastic out and making it fit, but it's actually working out pretty good. And so hopefully that'll make some more horse torques for my tunnel ram. And with those AVS2s, they're 650s. Got a great deal on them from a couple of Advanced Auto Parts stores going out of business, and I got a set for $475. And the local speed shop quoted me last spring for those same carbs, $800 for the set. So that was a considerable deal. I'm also looking for. I'm going to buy the dual fuel inlet. Those AVS2s also have dual fuel ports on both sides of the float bowls. And yeah, now my fingers are level. And so usually it's just one fuel feed feeds it all. And I'm actually going to get a dual fuel feed so I can run both sides of both my carbs.
Presents.
Back. What's in the box? Another box.
My horn ornament.
Ooh. I've got one of those.
I want to stick it up on either up on top of the air cleaner or off the radiator cap.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I have one of those. And I was actually very impressed on how quality it feels in your hand.
Yeah, not too bad. Especially for the price. It was like $12, I think.
Yeah.
$20 with shipping.
Yeah, I think I paid about the same for mine. I actually picked up a pair of Dodge Ram heads from my friend. He's like, are you interested in either of these? And one of them is the original hood ornament, but it's got screws in the bottom of it instead of the hinge port. So it's a solid mount ram. And the other one's a solid mount ram. And someone took a drill and drilled the eyes out and then put little red orbs in its eyes. So if you put a light inside of it, its eyes glow red. Which I think that might be going on Shop Truck because I think that would look really cool.
I've seen that done with the Mack truck ones.
Yep.
They come that way.
Oh, the eyes light up? I never knew that one.
Well, not the original ones, but you can buy
Right.
lighted ones that do that.
Well, there were some of those Mack trucks where the hood pull was the hood ornament.
Yeah, like my 40 Pontiac. I'm still
Yeah.
looking for that one.
Yes. There's one at my friend's place, but it's rotted from the door handles down.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't think there's a hood on it. It's got the angry,
and there's 6 side vents on the hood, and I've got 2 of them, so I need the other 4.
I'll have to go out there once the snow melts. I'll go talk to him. He's in his 80s. But
If
yeah,
not, I'll just cut them out. I'll pull the 2 that I got off, and then I'll try to sell them, or I'll give them to somebody who's doing a 40 Pontiac.
oh, I thought you were looking for them.
Fill the holes, and if I can't find the other 4.
Oh, right. Right. A lot of that car is in sad shape. There's 2 Chevelles out there, like 65s. One's a convertible and one's a hardtop, I believe. No, one's a post. And they're both basically Vintags. They're bad.
Rusted down to nut. Well, a convertible for sure. Even here in Idaho, convertibles don't last.
Right. Old Mac, I do have a 440 crank now, and it's steel, I believe. At one time, I was looking for a 440 crank.
Is a 440 crank and a 413 the same?
The 440 crank and the 413 are the same, yes.
And the 413 is always steel, right? Or forged?
No. I think 413s were forged, and then I forget when Chrysler went to cast. I think cast cranks came in like 71 or 72 is when the cast cranks came in. But I've heard of guys winging cast cranks with 600 horsepower. So, I mean, the cast crank is not bad. But who doesn't want steel? I do know that all 383s came with steel cranks, with forged steel crank. All the way through.
Right, on the 383.
That's
one of my favorite engines. The 340 and the 383. Those are my 2 favorites from Chrysler.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the 340 was great as a polar opposite to like the 383. 383 makes a crap load of torque, but you wind it up and that's it. Where the 340, you don't have a gob of torque, but you can wing her to the moon and she likes it. She likes it. And, you know, I mean, you've got guys that are saying, oh, no, the 383, that's what you want. No, other guys like, no, you know, you want the 340. But one guy likes to spin it like a Chevy, and the other guy knows he can just run it around.
Yeah.
Just think how many Buick Olds and Pontiacs got killed by Chevy guys thinking they had to strangulate them to get the power out of them, because that's what you do with a Chevy.
The old saying with the small block, small journal 327 was you didn't need a rev limiter. You take them to valve float and let them go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't
Well,
do that. But it's just a saying.
well, a 318 Chrysler can do that too. I mean, you can just rev them to the moon. And they actually like it. As long as you're not floating the valves, you're good. And it's just like, okay.
Problem with the 318 though is it's the bore. They just it was there for them, but they didn't care. The 318 was just their bread and butter. Throw it out there. This one will be reliable. You can
The negativity, even Chrysler talked about it as, yes, no frills, whatever, no frills, whatever. And actually it isn't. It's a great engine, just like you're saying. But yeah, they made sure to keep that. Everyone's like, oh, it's got a 318 in it.
But they'll run forever.
They'll run forever. Yeah.
318 it's one of the best engines ever made.
It's one of the best engines
You just
ever
can't
made.
do much to them.
Right. Now,
most of them came with a 2-barrel.
Right. Well, some of them came 4-barrel, like cop cars came 4-barrel, like in the Diplomats and stuff. And they put, now this is guys bench racing, but one guy always swore that also the Diplomats, the 318 Diplomats, got 4 barrels and chrome top ring. Like that made a big difference in some way, shape, or form, but for better compression or something. But yeah, the guy always denoted chrome top ring. Like, okay.
The only time that makes any kind of difference is if you're throwing nitrous to it.
Right. But one of those things where you still kind of go, I don't know what you mean. Well, okay. Yeah, they now what's funny is that you have the guys getting the 273s in the little Barracudas, and they're just getting the 4 barrels on them, and they're just boiling the tires off of those little cars, and they absolutely love it. So how can a 273 be just such a hot little number that everyone seems to just be crazy about, and we pump up that same engine to a little larger displacement, and all of a sudden now it's just like, okay, meh. How does that make any sense?
The bore to the stroke.
That's true.
With the 305 Chevy, the same thing. And honestly, it's a good engine.
Right.
But you can't do anything with it. They are reliable. They don't make the best power. The heads are horrible on them. I mean, yes. They can't breathe through those horrible little heads on them. That's why they had to jack the compression so far up on them. But all in all, you just leave them alone and drive them. A 305 Chevy it'll run forever.
Oh yeah.
But you can't do anything with them.
Oh God, I want to say this is like 89 or 90. My friend's older brother bought a used Monte Carlo, an SS Monte Carlo, and it was burgundy with the orange and yellow stripes. And he comes pulling in, and it was a gorgeous car. It was a couple-year-old used car. And his dad, the Mucho Gearhead, son comes pulling in, and dad's out of the shop looking. What'd you get? Oh, bought it at the Chevy garage, blah, blah. Well, let's go for a ride, son. And he takes dad for a spin. He comes back, and the dad's out of the car. He's already cussing and swearing, and he's like, this thing's a pile. It's slow. My God, it's only got, it's got like 25,000 miles on it or something. For the mileage, this thing should be boiling the tires off of it. Oh my God, this thing's a pig. And they put a 4-barrel, a cam, heads, and headers on that car and left the whole bottom end alone of that 305. That car was fast. He just threw all the old school Chevy parts at it and made it detuned it, took all the fuel injection out of it and everything. Yep. And she was great. I mean, not lighting the world on fire, but I'm sure you could stand toe to toe with any other stock Monty.
I have the Dodge version of that, the Dart GT.
Okay.
You know, the CUDA. I can see why they were pretty quick with that little bitty little engine in them. Those cars don't weigh nothing. Those cars are a paperclip with 4 wheels.
Yes. And then you got that hot 273, but just like Uncle Tony has talked about, he thinks there's magic in the original design when it was a small bore engine, because that's where it all began. So that's why Tony always wanted to build a hot 273 to see what kind of real horsepower you can get out of that small bore engine.
And it's an odd one. You know, you don't hear about 273. It's like a 260. You know, the Ford 260.
Right.
It's not a 6-cylinder. That's before the 289.
Right. Actually, what was really interesting is I went down the rabbit hole.
A 64 and a half Mustang with a 260 in it.
Really?
Yeah. First year, they only run them for that first half a year.
Okay, so if you got a 260, if you got a V8 instead of the inline 6,
or the inline, or the 289. It was right at that time when they were.
Oh, you had 260, 289, and inline.
Yeah, the 260 is actually very, very rare.
Wow. I watched a whole documentary on the GMC V6s, like the 305 and the 351 and everything. I didn't realize that they made those things in like 700 cubic inch in a 6-cylinder. Besides the big twin, the 12-cylinder. I've seen those, but yeah, they made the actual V6s that were just like 680 cubic inches or 704 cubic inches. No, the 12-cylinder was a 702. The 6 was like 694 or something like that. It was just ridiculous for a V6.
Is that 305?
It's related to that 305.
And it's like 2 305 stuck together. Those things are huge. If you ever
702
GMC,
702 is like 2 351s.
V8.
Yeah, that thing had like a 2,800 RPM red line too on the 12-cylinder.
Yeah.
Because I think they had like a 305, a 351. I think they had a 401, or maybe it was a 305 and a 401. Hey, Dick. Another Dick. Dick Dastardly.
Truck engines. They were only made to turn slow.
Right.
And pull a truck through the field. A 2-ton truck that is loaded about 6.5 tons.
Yep.
Through
well,
the mud.
One of the scrappers around here, he had an old like 74 C20 Chevy that he stuffed a 500-inch caddy in. And that's what he drove his scrap rig with for years. And it was because it had all the torque in the world and it never worked hard to make it happen. And he got decent mileage doing it, which is hard to wrap your brain around until you realize, yeah, your small block Chevy will get 17 unloaded. Now put some weight in the box. Now you're getting 4. Now you're getting gallons to the mile. Where the big block, it gets 7 always. Always.
Out here, you go around to the old spud sellers, and I can pretty much guarantee you'll find at least 2 late 60s, like 60, '67 to '69 GMC Spud trucks. And
Yep.
every single one you come across is missing the front bumper. Because in those years, they didn't do a true dual axle in the back. They had a tag axle. It was a dummy axle.
Oh yeah, was it twin screw?
Those got stuck in them muddy fields constantly. They hook onto them and they jerk the front bumper right off of them. That we're littered with them here, and a lot of them have got that 305 in them.
Really, I think they're neat engines. I think they're really neat.
So,
the spark plugs are inboard. They're on the intake manifold side. I've only seen one in real life. My friend Cliff and Rolly. Cliff was the dad. Rolly was my friend. My friend from school. They had a '69 GMC that was fire engine red, and it had the 305 V6 in it.
2,900 pounds. Yep.
Well, wow, 275 horse out of a 273. That's worth talking about. That is a ripper.
I think that one of mine is 2,800. My 65.
Oh yeah.
It is. I mean, it's a paper clip with 4 wheels.
It's a paper clip with 4 wheels. Jeff Rowe just proved it.
But mine's a slant with the automatic.
You know, I think it's really funny to see these guys who go as hardcore as they can to make a slanty really run, and it's amazing. I seen a Plymouth Arrow that had a slant 6 in it that would run 10 flats. And it had something across the bumper that said, "Gone elephant hunting, be back in 10 seconds." And the guy was one of those guys. He'd talk all about the inline 6 except the head, and he'd never open the hood. So somehow, some way, the head was the secret. So whether he made it cross flow or something, but he'd talk about everything else but the head of that engine or show it.
Your 63 weighs 29.
Wow.
I'll tell you, when I put my little dart on the lift, I just put it on the lift to try to make sure my lift was lifting right. Figured I'd choose the lightest thing I got, and that was it. When I lifted it up, though, and looked under it, yeah, I can see why those things are light. Everything on that car is, if they could cut a corner to cut costs, they did.
Well, I mean, it worked. You know, that's the one thing. As even though Chrysler Corporation was the weakling little brother of the big 3, they still were really good engineers, and they would design something well and make it good, but then try to incorporate that in everything. Which,
I mean, I'm used to looking at under a Ford. You look under a Ford Mustang, the torque boxes on it are massive. They're huge compared to Chrysler, little bitty things.
Yep.
The cam member on that dart is thinner than a fender on my 58.
I'm going to run my ladies' archery cabinet, and then I'm going to use the bathroom. I'll be right back.
All right. Jiminy Christmas. 667 pounds. Oh, that's got to be fun. What was you going with it this time, Jeff? I know you was making some changes on it. I haven't got a chance to come around to catch them parts of your series. Mopar's almost always made showings in the finals. That they have too. My buddy's 63, 3250. The max wedges for lighter, but I don't know why. The 292 and the 311. You're going for the screaming threes. .292 is 283 based. 311 is the 302 based. I remember the 311. That's pretty cool. That is really cool. But yeah, that is where it's at. Power to weight ratio. Good example of that is my dad had a little 68 Volkswagen Bug that was still running the 1600 in it. Single port heads. It was actually a 1635. Had a little bit bigger jugs on it, is all. People come from all over, well, all over around me, that Utah, Oregon, a couple guys from Washington, come to take him on and try to beat him in that little Bug. And he only lost once, and it was to a 2180, another Volkswagen with paddle tires on it. We were doing dirt drags with it. But it all came down to that right there, power to weight ratio. I remember when we'd go out to the track, we'd stop and we'd put just enough gas into the car to get it to Noise Park, or where our racetrack was. And then, I mean, the car would be running out of gas as we was pulling in. And then we take the gas can and just put just enough gas in it to get it to go down the track and then idle back. I mean, we stripped down that car to nothing. We took out the passenger seat. It didn't have a back seat like Volkswagen Bug seats weigh anything anyway, but we stripped everything we possibly could out of that car. And yeah, it was fast little son of a gun for just that little 1600 4-cylinder Volkswagen air-cooled. A couple of times I'd swipe that car and go out on the cruise with it. When Dad was off and away, the birds will play, right? And yeah, it was a fun little car. I could get it to lift front tire. Cheating, but I would do it. You get it bouncing. And you time it and nail it, and it would walk the front tires up. It was pretty impressive for everybody watching. Had a lot of fun in that little 68. And its advantage too was it was a street Baja, so it had the fiberglass front end on it, and all of the back shell, all fiberglass fenders, and the back shell was just a fiberglass cover. The old Baja kit, but it was the wide eye and not the narrow eye. One of these days, I'll get a picture of the old Bug. My dad has still got it. We pulled it in. We was going to restore it back to where it was when he was racing it, but it's got 0 floors left in it, which is curse of all Volkswagen Bugs.
Oh yeah, Lady Dougster's Bug it's the battery. It's rusted out in your usual spots. It's the battery box is gone, and battery always sat weird, real low in the car, and Finally, one day, we actually changed the battery out, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, why is the battery always hanging out of this thing? So I get the battery out, and I look at the plate, and the guy took a piece of real heavy gauge black plastic, and he made a perfect piece that went in, and it laid right over the stud for the battery hold down, and it covered the whole space. Somebody but it made the battery sit too high, I think, because they put the plate in wrong on purpose to mount the battery lower, because I think somebody was worried that they shorted out the seat on the battery.
Somebody bigger sat back there in the seat. Well, as big as you can be to even get in the back seat of one.
No. My lady wants the back seat removed in her car, and she wants a carpeted area back there for the dog. She goes, the only person's going to be back there is just whatever, and our dogs.
Even small kids have a hard time in the back there. But there is one car that's worse. The first gen Mustang. Yeah.
The back seat's a suggestion?
Yeah, it's just there for looks.
Or like the jump.
Hey, Steven, good seeing you, man.
Hey, Steven. Or the jump seats and the early extended cab pickups. Who's comfortable riding in those?
I got two sets I got a blue set and a red set of S10 jump seats. They're about this wide, about the same long out, and they sit opposing each other in an S10. Yeah, you can get two people in there.
I had an 84 S10. That was actually my first road legal vehicle. It was an 84 S10 or S15. I'm sorry, it was a GMC. It was an S15 Gypsy. It was fire engine red. It was rusty as frig. Had a 2.8 carbureted in it, and it had the deluxe interior that said the silver and black interior that said truck in the field. And it actually was an okay truck. It was gutless. Gutless. It was an old, worn-out engine to begin with. It had all the junkyard markings on it. Yeah, the guy popped the original engine and just got a cheap engine from the local wrecking yard and swapped it in. And yeah, it was my first vehicle. And yeah, it was like trying to get an old man to sprint. You'd slam down the accelerator and it'd go. It was bad.
That is too cool, Steven. Oh, they got to take me for a ride in it.
Nice.
His boys are the ones that I got the Ranchero from me.
Right.
That I gave away at the first No Name.
Oh, that's the guy. That's the kids.
Yep. They call it the Huevos Ranchero.
Yes. Which is a tasty breakfast. Thank you.
That is too cool.
I think one of the things that made me laugh the hardest, the first year that I went to St. Ignace for the car show, it's the last weekend in June, and it's in St. Ignace, which is the first city you come to when you cross the Mackinac Bridge and the Upper Peninsula. And so you're right on that bay, and it's gorgeous. Anyways, the car show, people come from nationwide too. And as you get closer into town, a lot more clubs tend to get the better spots. So you start to see themed clubs the closer you get to downtown, and there's a Ranchero club that all parks together in their spot. And a couple of them have big bumper stickers laid on the dashboards that say, "No, it's not an El Camino." It's not an El Camino. Oh God, I laughed. I read that first one. I laughed because everybody says it's an El Camino.
That's like what's his name? Austin? Daddy's Money's Garage and his Fury, Sport Fury. It's got that bumper sticker. It says it's not a Galaxy.
Not a Galaxy, it's not a Ford. but it's got, but you know, those stack headlights are deceiving. You're like,
It
like the,
looks. I gotta give it. Yeah, it does. It does looks a lot like it. Makes sense though.
I really like
Guy that
Austin's car. I
replaced
like
Virgil
Fury.
was Ford's head designer.
Well, I mean, look at Lee Iacocca. I mean, he went from working at Ford to working at Chrysler. Hell, he helped save Chrysler.
He saved him.
He saved him. And then when years later, when he's an old retired guy, he was being interviewed, and the guy said, "Well, Chrysler Corporation's in hot water." He says, "Could you save him again?" And he said, "Absolutely, without a doubt. I did it once. I can do it again. I'll do the same thing as I did before. I'll bring the people a product they want, and then make it very well."
Yep. And to all of these struggling companies or companies trying to find a foothold, like Rivian and Tesla kind of dominated off onto that field. But if you want to compete with them, you got to do the Henry Ford. Throw out a car that anybody can afford and everybody wants. Do away with all the fancy doodad button pushing stuff.
Well, the thing is that's the fancy doodad button pushing stuff that people want. That's what sells. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. Obviously, you know. Here's what I hate: we're getting Ford pickups now, or pickups in general, not just Fords, that can back themselves up with a trailer. So, okay, so we're going to get a whole new class of people that are doing just fine as long as they maintain their vehicles, which they don't. So then these doohickeys and all these high-tech thingamabobbers don't work anymore. And now we've got a guy who's got a 32-foot boat that he has no idea how to put in and out of the water because his trucks always did it for him.
And will it anyway? When I see a modern diesel truck with a short box on it and it squats with a gallon of milk in the back,
yeah,
come on, man.
So, yeah, K cars they're out there, but there's not as many as there used to be. This is actually really interesting. This happened on Friday afternoon. I got out of work. I went over to a friend of mine, the guy I bought those hood ornaments I was talking about. And he repairs cars. And he's got a 2020 Ford F-150 triple black. It's a gorgeous truck, y'all. It's aluminum bodied. And he got it. It was hit in the rear, but the accident messed up the bumper, and it made the rear frame rails crumple in their engineered crumple zone, but it didn't hurt the box. So he's got the box off of the truck, and then I didn't realize this, and he was showing me it. Ford makes a modular frame. It's a 3-piece frame. Yeah. And the nose piece, which engine cradle and stuff, that's all the same for front suspension. And the rear section, that stays the same. But if it's a regular cab, short box, it's going to get this middle section. Or if it's the 4-door cab, it's going to get this middle section. So it's a modular frame. So he tore it all apart, jacked it up. He's got the frame sitting on the ground on jack stands. Leaf springs are unhitched. And he just ground the weld out. And he took the whole rear section off of that truck, and he's got another one from the wrecking yard, and he's just going to slide it all back in and weld it into place. Awesome. Where we'd have to replace, fix the frame rails and everything, or replace the frame. Well, now it's modular. You just take that rear section off and swap a new section in, just like a Lego. Unreal.
Sold on how sturdy that is, though.
It looked pretty skookum. I mean, it was the first thing that hit my brain when I seen it is it looks, because everything is factory, and it looks no different than if you and I were to fix a boxed in frame rail. So we've got a frame rail that's bad from here to here, and then what we would do, we'd repair it, and then we'd put another piece of box tubing inside of it as a sleeve as you put it all back together and then weld that in. So the load is spread. Same
Works.
thing there. It's a sleeve that fits right inside. When the wrecking yard cut it out, all they did was they ground only the weld out of that box tubing. So it's right down, perfect bevel. Yeah. The actual neck itself didn't have any grinder marks on it.
If you look at a International Scout 2, and
Yes,
you pull the body
little
off,
Scout.
no, they're the bigger one. They're the big Scout, the Scout
Oh,
2.
the two, yeah, the two was the big Scout.
If you look at the frame, right at the driver, right underneath the doors, right in that section of the frame, it's an 880 frame. All they did was cut the frame, stretched it out to add the wheelbase, and did that. They slid another piece into it and then encapsulated it and fish plated it on the outside.
Yep.
The exact same frame. They just added a piece in.
Good to go. Yeah. So I see.
One of the first ones that I seen that were factory wire welded by hand, because every one that I've seen has got the little stickers everywhere, wire stickers.
Oh, gotcha.
You know, okay, you don't have time to grab your welding pliers and cut the wire off. You just right there, okay.
Yeah,
And then
let's get this done. Yeah, I'm drunk and I don't care. It's Friday.
Get it out of here. Get it out. Get it in. Get it out.
So are the welds at least good looking, or does it look like a bunch of duck shit?
No, they're actually welded pretty good. It's just
okay, good welds. Excellent.
You find wacko stuff like that.
Right. It's so funny, especially working in assembly cells for years, and how some people just do not care. It's throw it together and throw it out the door. And you're like, no, come on. Have a discerning eye, build the best part that you can build. Because I hated it when they'd say, oh, you ran 2,000 parts that were defective. No, I didn't. I actually cared about what I did.
Yeah, those are good little Dana 44s. But they're high. They are high geared. For some reason, the Scout 2 went high.
Yep.
All the other gears, they were low as low.
Guy I know, Andy, he's got an 80 Scout 2, and it's got the diesel in it.
Oh. Ooh, there's a rare one.
Yeah.
Does it run?
Yeah, he's really proud. He's really proud.
Even rare if it runs.
I think it was was it a Nissan?
I'm trying to remember who made it for them. I want to say it was their own.
No, I think it was a Nissan.
Did they outsource it?
I think they outsourced it. I've got. Have you ever seen any of the international 4-cylinder that's half a 389? Or I think it's half 389.
Slant 4?
Yeah, the slant 4.
Yeah.
Those are pretty neat. I have a Hastings oil filter new in the package in a cardboard box that fits that.
And their V6 that still has a V8 distributor.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
It's just got seriously silicone in the holes that aren't used.
After being around a lot of heavy equipment and being in internationals versus Fords versus Chevys and everything, and you always notice that an international was a more Spartan truck.
Oh,
it was low line. It was utilitarian. It was just get the job done. This is what you need to get the job done. You don't need fancy stuff. And then the best way I could describe it in big rigs was like Oshkosh. You ever remember any old Oshkosh trucks? Those
snow plows.
Yeah, they're just gargantuan trucks, built heavy brutes, and they have zero finesse. None. Creature comforts, what's that? I mean, it's like driving a military vehicle. They're pretty bare bones too and uncomfortable. That's what it makes you think of. It's very Spartan.
You're lucky to get a door handle in them.
Right, right. You got wood grain trim on your International. Woo, buddy. My friend's travel all was burgundy, and that actually was a nice truck.
The Travelall wasn't bad.
Right.
They put little creature comforts in it.
Yeah, that was probably the nicest International. But most of the Internationals I remember, I rode in a lot of pickups, and very low line, very, very Spartan.
I learned to drive on 58 or 59 International 4-wheel drive flatbed.
13 leather shit spreaders.
Yep. Because you didn't have to know how to use the clutch. You know, get the clutch and the gas right. It was so freaking low geared. You let the clutch out and you could stand, open the door, get out and walk around it and get back in.
Yep. Yeah, the only way you know it's moving is because you marked a chalk line down the road before you smash the throttle. My dad had a 1990 Dodge W150 4-wheel drive. It was factory ordered heavy half 4-wheel drive creeper gear 4-speed 323 gear, and it was 4-wheel drive. And that truck in low lock in granny gear, full throttle, would not register 10 miles an hour on the speedo.
Oh.
I won money doing it. This thing will go faster than that. No, it will not go fast. It will not go over 10. It's less than 10. It's like 9. Bull crap. All right, let's go. $20. $20. I'll show it to you. That truck was special ordered like that, but it also had the LE Royal interior. So it had the good cloth interior, power windows, power locks, AM, FM cassette, air conditioning. It was loaded. It was just strange that you had that hard working of a truck with that nice of an interior. Somebody special ordered it and then didn't come buy it from the dealership. And my uncle ended up buying it brand new.
It had drums up front? Huh. That was an early Scout too then.
What are really cool is like Rockwell axles, where it goes all the way through. The pinion goes all the way through. It has its own disc brake on the end of the pinion. Or the big planetary axles. Those are interesting to look at.
Yeah, we got 2 sets of 2.5 ton.
Like Rockwell 70?
One 5-ton Rockwell. Okay. Top loader Rockwells.
Yep.
We actually used Nissan brake rotors on the diff.
Okay.
That's how we stopped
brake
those. It works okay, kinda, but if you're really needing to stop and you're really going pretty good, one tire will rotate backwards and the other one will rotate forward, and you'll start to do this.
Oh, I see. So the inertia is already there, and now you're slowing down the pumpkin, and then the power's trying to go through the power divider. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they get rolling like that, you can get them moving, because, the overall weight of one tire is about 1,000 pounds. So you get that kind of motion going, and yeah, it'd take you for a ride. It's easier just to rear steer it and throttle up.
Right. Probably fix it with throttle is a very common common theory. Oh, it's starting to do this, stand on it. It's starting to do this, stand on it. You need to scratch your butt, stand on it.
Oh, those guys with the race trucks, when you see them doing their aerials,
Yep.
they're actually flying those trucks. And they're using the tire weight to do it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Same thing applies for motocross riders. When they sky the bike, if they need to nose up, you'll actually see them get on the throttle. Or they need to nose down, you'll see them hit the brake, and it'll actually pay attention when they're jumping the General Lee. How many times do you hear the General at full song while she's in the air? They don't do that just because it sounds cool. They're doing it because, once again, that's to help keep the nose up of the car while they're in the air.
And there's another trick to it, right? You got to know where your power band is. And as you come onto your approach onto the ramp or whatever you're using for a ramp, just as your front tires are about to break over, you nail it right at that moment. You get the ass of the car to set as it's going over, and you'll come out level. If you miss that, though, it goes like this, and you nose again. I used to be able to make my K5. I had a 72 K5. I jumped that thing all over the place, and I could always make it come in level. I learned that on the sand rails, though. That and off-road, and oh man, sometimes I miss that, but other times, I'm too old for that now.
Yeah, the middle of the sand dunes, so and so thrashed up this, and we can patch it together if we can just get this. Hey, run back to camp and grab that. And laying in the sand in the full sun and sand everywhere, and sand ruins a lot of stuff.
I've got to find it. We did have them all of our VHS transferred over to DVD.
Okay.
But my dad's got it, and he's got like a stack of them. But in there, because we used to have an old camcorder VHS, the brick thing.
Oh yeah, you look like a actual television reporter.
On the sand, a guy that used to run with us, his buggy broke down. We actually tore that little boat. It's a Volkswagen powered one. Tore that down in the middle of the sand. Tore the pistons out, everything, changed the jug, changed the pistons, slapped it all back together in the middle of the sand dunes, miles from anywhere.
Yes.
And got it all back together in about 20 minutes, totally rebuilt.
Yes.
A Volkswagen VW in the middle of the Sahara Desert. Well,
it might as well have been. Yes. Yeah, we've had to do amazing things like that, and just the not knowing stuff like don't take drum brakes, Volkswagen drum brakes out in the sand. You get sand inside them, and they just rub the linings right off of your pads. And stuff. I don't have any brakes. What the hell? I'll look at it when I get back to camp, and sure enough, no brakes.
Hastings swather, hay swather air cleaner.
Yeah.
Put that on, and for Volks, they fit perfect for starts with a D Delorto carburetor or Weber. You can get the adapter for the Weber too. We run a lot of Webers. And then you take a pair of nylons and you stretch over that, and that keeps all the sand out.
Right.
Otherwise, blow sand. Yeah, you go through you go through a few jugs.
Yeah. Or if I'm actually there's really close to my house are power line trails, and a lot of it's sand. And there's everyone you see all summer long. You'll see all sorts of Jeeps and off-road vehicles just running there, and it's fine. Well, one of my friends goes, How come you don't go out there? And I'm like, with my daily driver? No way. I'm not going to go play in the sand in my daily. Now, if I have a vehicle that I've actually built to go play in the sand, now that's a different story. Well, yeah, you don't just take a regular old vehicle out and go play in the
Oh,
sand.
no. There
No.
are so many four-wheel drive pickups stuck out there that have been there since
Yep.
the early 60s. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Four-wheel drives do not do good up here in the sand out here.
Yep.
We've got some of the most famous sand dunes out here.
We've got some Silver Lake. If you're ever up in
Silver Lake, I've heard of that.
Silver Lake is definitely the place to be. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Right? You're right there on top of Lake Michigan too. So you're going to be, the closer west you go, you're going to be getting these awesome views of Lake Michigan right there. And it's magical, man. It is really cool. So yeah. And it's a pretty happening. The name of the town is Hart, Hart. And it's a pretty happening place all summer long.
Their tools suck.
Cover breather.
I got to get those old. I got to find them. Playing around, you see my rotary powered one.
Ooh.
Never again. Never, ever, ever again will I mess with rotary. It was fun. It was a lot of fun, and it taught me everything about shifting.
Mm-hmm.
Because a rotary is like riding a weed eater with four wheels. You got zero torque.
Right. Right. You wrap that thing to the moon and leave it there. That's where it wants to be.
12 grand is now you're talking.
The only rotary that I ever got to play with. Sorry, I take that back. I've played with two rotaries. One rotary was a Arctic Cat 303 snowmobile. Had a 303cc rotary engine on it. And that thing was an absolute turd. It sounded cool. You'd light it up, rip, 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 rip. You're like, wow, that sounds cool. That sounds mean. And you jump on it and you're expecting to punch it and the thing's going to take off running like a streak of shit. Just, it got you around. It was just slow. They made a 606. That was a two rotor. And I never got to experience one of those. I had the 303. It was a turd. And then I worked on, my friend had a Suzuki RE5, if you know what one of those are. It was a single rotor, rotary powered motorcycle made by Suzuki.
I've only heard about them.
650 cc's rotary. And they it almost ruined Suzuki. It was so bad. It was such a flop. Literally, there is legend that they had such a sea of motorcycles as inventory that no one wanted, that they actually took out and buried at sea. Get rid of them. Yeah, they're a weird bike, and the exhaust gets so hot on them that Suzuki engineered the exhaust pipes, the exhaust ports come off of the bottom of the engine and then ease into a pipe, and you can actually look through the muffler. If you go to the tail of the bike and you look up the muffler, it's straight. You can see all the way to the front, and that's so it'll get some cool air coming into it, plus it's hot exhaust gas to help regulate the temperature of the exhaust. The RE5 is actually a technological marvel of a bike.
On the car,
and they got shitty mileage. They got 17 miles to the gallon.
They have this huge, looks like a grenade, looks like an old pineapple grenade, but it's huge. It comes off the side of the motor, and it's called a thermal reactor.
Okay.
What it does, it's there to cool the exhaust before it goes down through. Because
Right.
it comes off of there hot. And if you
Hot.
pull that off, that thermal reactor off, and just straight pipe it straight off from there, you gain 50 horsepower just like that.
Wow. It
But
restricts that much.
it is so freaking loud. When it hits about 10 grand, it blurs your vision. The sound wave,
Really?
yeah, it's the most ungodly scream, yeah, high pitched scream. Woo.
So
Yeah,
it doesn't sound like an F1 car?
I used to take earplugs, plug them in, and then I'd take cigarette butts and push on the top of them and then pull my helmet down tight just to be able to drive that thing.
Cigarette butts. That's a good idea.
I packed them just as tight as I could. Oh, and it was, oh. But the cool thing is when you come off of a dune, especially just as it's starting to get dark, dusk,
Yeah.
you just let it idle down, just let it back wrap through. It'll shoot flames about 6 feet out of them pipes up the side. I lit my godfather's beard on fire. He was in the sandrail right next to me coming down. I just and woof, woof. Lit the whole side of his beard on fire.
Wow.
God, we had fun on the sand.
Have you seen any of that stuff, Rob, Dom? Him and his guys made a 12 rotor engine with turbos and the whole shebang, and it's like 1,000 horsepower or something. And they're trying to or 1,300 horsepower. It's absolute insanity, and they think they're going to be putting the engine, or they have put the engine in a Miata.
Oh Lord!
The engine's the size of the Miata or a quarter of the Miata.
And honestly, there's much easier ways to do it. If you're looking for power, there are so many other easier options than messing with a rotary.
I mean, it's really interesting.
It's fun. It's a one-off.
It's a one-off for sure. I mean, just look at those big aircraft engines where they're radial engines with a radial engine in behind that and a radial engine in behind that and a radial engine, and you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 banks, and they're all offset a little bit. Each one's like half a cylinder off from the next or whatever. And you're just going, wow.
And the drawback of that is they can only turn so fast because a propeller has a speed limit. You get a propeller going too fast, it ain't moving no more air anymore.
Oh yeah. See, Neverboard knows exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's I don't even know the horsepower of it, but you're right. It's quite the engine, and it seems very happy. Yeah, it's got some seriously big turb skis on it too. I mean, it's ridiculous, and that's what a lot of people love is ridiculous.
The good thing about them is you don't have to worry about piston speed.
This is true.
They're not stopping, and going back up, stopping, coming down, stopping.
I think that's one of the reasons why RPM is your friend, because it wants to be spun to the moon.
We had to run 2-cycle oil in ours. We always mix the gas.
I'm not surprised. I mean, everybody, the DeLorean was supposed to have a rotary engine, and at the last second, the engine supplier backed out. And then DeLorean scrambled and got the engine that was PEV or something. Dean will set me straight, but it's like Peugeot, yeah, it's like Peugeot, Renault, and someone else used the same engine, or Volvo. Volvo, Peugeot, Renault. Yeah, it's a PEL, or it's 3 letters. PEV,
PRV.
PRV, Peugeot, Renault, okay,
Volvo.
Volvo. Maybe that's it. Yeah, that's that 2.8 that they ended up putting in there, because that was just like, we need an engine. Okay, perfect. That's available. Let's go.
I think it was supposed to have a Windsor in it at the very beginning. And then Ford backed out of it. Well, they couldn't afford Ford. So then he went at the rotary, and then that fell apart. He was just scrambling to anybody and everybody.
Right.
The bad thing about it is, yes, some of his investors were in doing some bad stuff.
Yep.
He made the front page as a drug dealer. What? 3 weeks after that, he was acquitted of all charges, but it only made page 9.
Right.
He
And
wasn't a drug dealer.
the only reason why they pinned him with that is because John Z. DeLorean Z stands for Zachary. He he's the youngest executive at General Motors. And so he's 40, and he's going up against guys who are 60, 65. So, and everyone else is suit and tie professional every day at work. We're a GM executive. DeLorean's going to work in bell bottoms and Hawaiian shirts, and, with shirt buttoned up to his navel and gold chains and whatever. So on the weekends, old Johnny's flying out to the West Coast and stretching his legs on the West Coast and partying it up and hobnobbing. Married 3 supermodels in his life. And also, John had a chin implant to give him a more masculine jawline. I know, right? So someone on his West Coast party buddies gets busted for drugs or whatever, and he starts singing like a canary, and he throws out all of the people he knows who like to party. And John DeLorean's name come up. And they said he's the biggest fish there, so we're going to fry him just because. So the government went out of their way to hang DeLorean for coke. DeLorean Motor Company is already basically drowning in debt. And he wants the coke not to use, but to sell, because he can sell it to make some fucking money. He's desperate, and they keep trying to sell him cocaine, and he keeps saying, yes, I'll buy the cocaine, and he keeps offering them stock in DeLorean, which is not even worth the paper that it's wrote on, and they know better than to take the stock. So, and he couldn't go get a loan, so the government actually took a agent, made him a bank manager at a bank branch, and approved DeLorean a loan, even though he's got a millions in debt company. Got the loan so he could buy the coke, so he could buy the cocaine from them and then bust him. Yeah.
I'm sure he was dibbling in it. Of course, everybody was back then.
Right. And he's famous for reaching in the briefcase, pulling out a bag of coke and saying, gentlemen, this is more valuable than gold.
Johnny Carson.
And here comes all the guys that put chrome bracelets on.
And he lost big time. But the car was doomed to begin with. Stainless steel is not something you want to mess with. There's a reason the DeLorean and the Cybertruck kind of, if you squint your eyes, kind of look very similar.
I'd much rather drive a DeLorean.
Me too. But you can't get any curves with them.
I'm not even
all angular.
Man,
is just too hard.
Didn't we draw Cybertrucks when we were about 4 in
That's the Pinewood Derby truck car. that, you know, the kid didn't have a dad.
Yep.
He just pulled it out of the box, slapped the wheels on it, and kicked it down the track. Yeah, that's a Cybertruck.
Yep. Yeah, I'd
Now,
much rather drive
that's the
DeLorean.
reason everything is angular and there's hard lines on it. There's no curves to the DeLorean or the Cybertruck because you can't.
I don't remember hearing of people griping about their stainless steel on their DeLorean rusting like I have with Cybertruck owners.
Because they clear coated it. Well, it doesn't rust. It tarnishes.
Right.
All stainless steel, yeah, you get the white lines, you get the
Yeah.
crud.
Well, Casey Putch was
Friends.
talking about he drove a DeLorean while he was in college, and he would spend a day every so often with some 4/0 steel wool and some stainless polish, and he would, you know, it's essentially he's washing his car, just keeping the stainless nice.
I mean, they used to make trim and stuff out of it, but that's small scale. Trying to
Yeah,
do
it's
a
small scale. There was a episode of Jay Leno Garage that I watched, and there was a Bugatti, I think it was, that was they made one of, and it was a magnesium body, and the only thing that survived was pictures of said car, and someone with a lot of money decided to petition a really talented metal artist to build him one, and he only had pictures of these cars to go off of. And he said that all of his metal that came in for the project was 3 feet by 3 feet magnesium sheet that he had to cut, weld, form, bend, and you're just going, magnesium. Wow. Okay, I have noticed that there is magnetic stainless and non-magnetic stainless.
It's got a lot more iron in it, and that will discolor.
Okay.
Not really rusting, but it's tarnishing.
Beer run. Be right back.
BWRUN, beer
All we need is a 10 and a 5-er car and a key and a sober driver. BWERRUN, beer run. Those frat guys from Abilene drove out all night to see Robert Earl King want cigarettes and save some money. They bummed them off a hippie that smoked them kind of funny.
Good old Todd Snyder. Oh, man. The DMC-12 was 45% Lotus D-Spring. Everything underneath, yeah. With 15% Cortina independent front suspension, and the rest was a consumption tax from Renault, who supplied the engine and gearbox for the Renault R30 5-door hatch. Ugh, and what a POS. Quick, grab the cow. Industrial cleaning acid will tarnish and cause rusting because it's poor grade. Yeah. Poor grade, and it's malleable, more malleable than regular good grade stainless. Yeah, just bad stuff. And it welds for shit. Actually, I don't like welding stainless. I got to do it at work, and yeah, I just don't like it. I come home and I put my MIG in my hand, some good black iron. Oh, just I'm home. I'm in heaven again.
Well, you don't like TIG welding?
The stuff I do, no, absolutely not. TIG, as long as it's brand new materials, never touched nothing. Yeah,
I
sure.
get what you're saying there.
My
I
rusted junk, not heavens no. I hate TIG. And it
I
takes
find if it's nice new stuff and you know what you're doing on steel. I never mastered aluminum, but I can TIG weld steel, and it's. I always enjoyed gas welding when I was young and in tech school, and I something therapeutic about gas welding. And that's what I find. Same thing is with TIG welding. Is I just enjoy that for some reason.
and auto darkening helmets have changed the game for that.
Yeah, the only thing that I don't like about the auto darkening helmets are usually they don't tell you when they're dying or if they're dead. So, you run over and you've got to do that real quick job. Run over, grab your helmet, throw it on, put it down, go to weld or whatever, and you practically get blinded because the stupid thing discharged or turned off or whatever. The battery's not charged up enough or.
See, mine's backwards. It defaults to dark.
Oh, it defaults to dark.
Yeah. So if it
Now,
don't
that
light
I can
back
get
up,
behind.
then time to set it out in the sun because it's been in the shop and not used for long.
I'm still old school and I still flip my helmet down. Had a guy mess with the helmet that I was using. It was an old school helmet with the curved face kind with the little flip up style lens. And I would always put it up. Well, one of the guys at lunch break purposely went over and messed with the knobs on it. So I come back from lunch break, strap on, and then got my helmet up, and I'm talking to him. And then I got a weld dust. I flip my helmet down to go weld, and instead of it stopping where it was supposed to, it comes back and it whacks me in the throat, and I about fell back. And he's laughing his ass off. And I mean, yeah, that was pretty damn funny, but boy, that hurt. That hurt because those helmets usually flip down at a pretty good speed.
Warps like a bitch. Yeah, you got to really watch your temperature on stainless because it.
Oh, aluminum! If you want your aluminum melted into a blob, I'm your man. You want a useless blob on your hands?
Do you use a foot or the hand trigger?
Never used a hand trigger. It's always been a foot pedal.
Always foot.
Always foot.
Same here, but at work it's all on the trigger. It's a thumb trigger.
Well, that only makes sense.
I don't
That
like.
would be so slick.
It's hard to get used to.
Yeah. Well, a friend of mine's dad, in the 70s, he worked as a welder, and he worked on somewhere in America. He built a power plant, a nuclear power plant. And he said, as a welder there, you were only required to weld 18 inches a day. You could go above and beyond that, but if you welded 18 inches, you were paid for the day and you could go home.
God, how do I get that job?
Well, here's the thing. You're given a stamp that is a shape, and whatever that shape is you. And then where you start, you put a stamp in to show where you begin. You weld your 18. Then you turn to inspection, and inspection goes in with their equipment, and they look for hairline cracks and all sorts of stuff. If your 18-inch weld passes first try, congratulations, you are paid. You can go home. If they find any imperfections in your weld, you have to grind your 18 out plus 6 inches of the previous and start again. And then weld your 18 and then go for inspection. And the process continues.
They dip it, they check it for penetration, and
everything had to meet all these criteria to be a good weld. And he was talking about how there was guys that were welding with an assistant with a remote control and a rheostat, higher. And the guy who turned it up, lower. The guy who turned it down, higher. The guy who turned it up, whatever he was wanting. So these guys
Back
were in.
before the pedal, that's what it was.
Yeah, back before the pedal.
Oh, you froze up there, Doug. Oh, he's gone. There you are.
Okay.
You went down the black hole there.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't notice anything here.
What's it like on the other side?
It tastes like beer. Yeah, he said that they'd had him doing, that's all he did when he worked there was weld. And there was a time when he actually had all his reactor or whatever welding done where they said, okay, you go work in the weld shop. And he said he welded up practically all came to him as cut stock, and he just had to put it together. But he made about every safety railing and staircase or ladder chute and everything, that cage that goes around your ladder. He made all of those. Good night, Everboard. Yeah, he made all sorts of safety stuff, guardrails and all that other stuff.
Yeah, that's what I do at work. Catwalks, all kinds of stuff.
Okay. So do you do your little turn on the catwalk? Yeah, the catwalk. On the catwalk.
I'm too exy, yeah.
I'd always make that joke to my friend Jason because he'd be talking about his tractor. And then, I'd have to get out on the catwalk. And I said, did you do a little turn on the catwalk? And he's like, finally, he'd just say, I got up on the catwalk, did a little turn.
But even at work, if I can get away with it, I generally MIG it.
Well, that's easy. That's point and shoot.
Yeah. Don't have to worry about breeze.
Right.
I don't have to clean it quite so much. TIG, you clean it, you clean it, you clean it again, and you clean it again. And it's just faster. I can hit it, and then off it goes.
Do you arc weld at all anymore, or is that just kind of a nostalgia thing?
Actually, a lot of stick.
Excellent.
Because a stick, we got like, oh Lord, they're like 100-foot leads on it. You can get up there and places you can't drag a bottle up.
Yep. That's damn right, too.
It works just as good, but the places we're in, a lot of times you spend more time building shielding for it, so you don't get contamination into the product and stuff.
One of my favorites is I think it's 7018 rod with high hydrogen. When you lay the bead down just right, and you don't even need your slag hammer. You just go and blow the slag right off of it, or if it's already fallen off of it, curls right up and falls off of it. You're like, oh, that's the stuff, man.
We made racks of 55-gallon drums of toxic waste out of garbage for a while. Better catch pan underneath, then they couldn't leak.
Right? Containment system.
Hey, Tim, good to see you, man.
Hey, Tim.
But it's all good.
went out to a couple weekends ago. Went with my friend Dutch Guy's Garage. We went out to a junkyard by us, and he pulled home a '87 Chrysler Fifth Avenue.
Oh, really?
And, yep, it was actually a very rust-free car. For a Michigan car, it was actually sold at the dealership closest to me in Wayland. Yeah, I looked at it and I seen the sticker on the bumper because they had their dealership tag was a red ribbon, and it was red and white, and it said Wayland Chrysler on it. And I seen the remnants of that sticker on the bumper, and it was owned by the Alflin family. And on the corner of the bumper, and they bought it. The Wayland guys bought it from Eddie Alflin, and it said Alflin Chrysler on the trunk lid. You could barely see the dealership tag, so it was a local car.
Wow.
So it sat in the yard for years with no windshield or passenger door on it. We end up slicing the roof off of it because there was cars stacked on top of it. And we brought home just the fenders, quarter panels. There's no drive line in it. And we took the interior out of it. Since then, he tore apart his 77 Roadrunner, and he cut it at the base of the A-pillar and back where the quarter panel meets the rocker, and he cut up the Fifth Avenue because that M body is just like the F body. They just took all that architecture, and they built the Fifth Avenue on it, and he grafted that into a 77, and he did it all in a week's time.
He's quick and he's good. Dutch is.
Yes.
He's damn good.
Yes. Yes, he's amazing. He's amazing.
I love that wagon of his. Or is that his wife's?
Oh, the wagon?
Yeah, with the plaid interior. And...
yeah, that's his wife's.
Yeah.
That's the only big block in the fleet, too.
Oh, really?
Yep. Yeah. Dutch prefers small blocks. And then his wife's car is the only big block.
One or two petties?
Two? He's got a Super Coupe. He's got a petty. One got cut up. I think the 77. He's got the tan RT. I think that's an 80 RT. I don't know. Probably, I think maybe two. Wyand, the STP guys?
Wyand?
I can't believe how many people say that name every way but right. And I get argued with, and I'm like, bro, I've seen it casted in aluminum. Say why and. No. It's Wyand. It's Wyand. The stop guys.
Wayland.
Wayland. Wayland. Not to be confused with Waylon.
And I've used very little of their stuff. I've got two of their tunnel rams.
Yep.
Because they're the only ones that make them for big block Ford. But
right.
Other than that, that's the only two that I've ever used. They were most known for blowers.
Yes. I've been finding
things forever.
I've been finding cheap blowers lately. I seen on Marketplace just today a 671 blower straight off the Detroit diesel, still got green paint on it, complete for $200.
$200?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, right off the Detroit, already pulled for $200. It's like, fuck yeah, dude. And then there's another guy north of me, he's got 2 blower cases, 2 sets of rotors, and 2 sets of gears for $200 apiece. Wants to sell the whole package for $400, and one's a polished case. And I'm going, geez, I'd love to have that, but the big block Mopar blower intake alone is $900.
And starting, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, probably these days it's probably starting at $900. Yeah, I've got a Ford Fever, but I don't know if I'll ever be able to attain it.
Right now, Speedmaster for big block Ford runs about $7,000 for everything, top bottom, except for carburetors. No carburetors, or whatever you're going to put on top of it to feed it.
If I got a blower, it's going to be $7
Be $7,000.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then the other thing is that's a kind of can be a paradox is it takes 100 horsepower to turn the whole thing. So wouldn't that suck to have an NA mill that is 400 horsepower, but your blower setup makes 500 horsepower, but it's eating 100 horsepower just to run the whole unit, so you're back to a 400 horse mill. How much would that suck?
Out of it.
But you'd still drive around like, yeah, I got a blower car. No one knows, but yeah, I got a blower car.
I mean, it's almost better to go. Well, there's so many other better ways to go.
Right.
Roots, but ain't nothing cooler than a roots.
That's what I've always wanted, the blower through the hood. I've always wanted. What's happening on the passenger side of my car? Who the fuck cares? I got a blower.
The air cleaner shake. That's what's
yeah.
going on.
Oh, dude. And then torque rocks and you stomp the throttle. Watch it. Watch it. Watch it.
Rough.
Oh, that's cool. Stand on it. It goes. Yeah. What's happening on the right side of the car? The book catcher opens up.
Big wing nuts on Bigfoot 1 on his air cleaners.
Yep.
They were tightened just a little bit off center of each other, about like this.
Yeah.
That was so Bob, when he was riding in the truck, he could look over and use those wing nuts as if they came together in his vision, he knew his rear tires were centered for his rear steer. So he actually used the air cleaners on that blower to center his rear steer. So he knew the back tires were going straight again.
Wow.
That's a little bit monster truck trivia that probably would never get asked. But if it comes up in Jeopardy, you might win.
Right. Speaking of winning, I won a T-shirt today on John Cope's live.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sweet. Was he on earlier?
He was on earlier, way earlier. It was early in the afternoon.
Oh.
And Wilburn had said there was like 243 on a Sprague for a 727-904. There's a bunch of splines on the back of it. Well, someone had counted it. I think it was Wilburn that counted it. There's 243 splines. And Cope said, I'll buy you a T-shirt if you can tell me. And I wasn't the first person to guess it, but the guy who won it was from Australia. And he goes, I'm in Australia. Just give it away to someone else. And I ended up being the guy that won. So I got a free T-shirt coming.
On ours, we had a self-center. You hit the toggle switch in the center, push down on it, and they would self-center the back tires.
Oh, that's a smart idea right there. So that's, in other words, that's when being self-centered is a good thing?
What's that?
That's when being self-centered is a good thing.
Oh yeah, always.
Yeah. Any other time, it's not that cool. You're so self-centered. I know.
You kind of go up a little sideways, side kilter there. Yeah, that's
Right.
all right. All right.
I think you'll enjoy this. Check this out.
1913.
Porcelain on steel.
Son of a gun.
And that's like 278. I think that's 89 or 09. So yeah, that's the rust. Here's the backside. Porcelain on steel. Heavy, 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 heaviest thing you've ever held in a license plate. And here's another.
Wow.
State of Michigan seal. Before it was actually adopted as the state of Michigan seal. And then they ran porcelain plates from 1910 to 1914. And then in 1915, they actually did embossed numbers. But the seal is still there. But in those years, it's a pewter seal that's riveted to the plate. Yeah, I've got Michigan plates from the first year, 1910. I have one.
That was the first year they required them.
Well, they required plates before then, but they were leather plates, and you were issued a number and you made your own. But in 1910 is when the actual state of Michigan made a plate and issued a plate. There was also driver's medallions before. In 1909 down, there was also a medallion that you were supposed to rivet to the dash of your car. That was your license plate also. Trust me, I've been looking for medallions.
I think it's a 47 is the earliest one I got.
I have a registration for a 1919 Oldsmobile. And that's interesting. I got to dig that out and do a video on it. It's really cool. And it actually says in block numbers 1919 across the whole page. That actually is the registration to the car, and it's handwritten. And it's like a Oldsmobile touring car. And it's hand addressed to someone in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool. One of those stupid things I found on eBay.
Well, we've been on for about 3.5 hours. I think I gotta go and
Only?
fall down.
Well, it was great shooting the breeze with you. Have a great night. Bye, everyone in the chat. Duckster's out. Bye.
You're more than welcome anytime, brother.
Glad to have you. We're glad to be back another time. See ya.
And with that, yeah, I'll like I said, we'll make this a regular Saturday thing so long as my work complies. I sure appreciate everybody coming out, and I promise I got videos coming here very, very soon. You guys are just freaking awesome. You rock. And we'll hope to see you all at the No Name Nationals coming up this the last week of September. We'll have some good old fun out there, and see if maybe some of you guys can come take a bite out of the Sir Rats-a-Lot. Thanks a million for coming out, guys. And in the meantime, get out there and get some metal hawk, because Lord knows BareRose hasn't been doing it for a little while. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for coming out, guys.